The Grappling Hour is brought to you by Luda Gear, athletic support items created by grapplers for grapplers.
Yeah. Check it out.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your good friend Rafa Sparza. I am coming to you live over here. It is Best Coast time, 2:08 here on Pacific, but our guest, it's late for them, and I appreciate him staying up for us. But here's the thing. When you see one of your friends competing against one of your other friends, you sometimes have to become Switzerland. You have to say, like, good luck, gents. I wish you guys the best, and I hope it's a good match. And it definitely was a good match. It was definitely one that yesterday, if you were watching live, you saw me have a certain kind of reaction to it. And I don't know how you could have any other reaction to it. So I figured the best way to get the insight from somebody who wasn't just there, but experienced it themselves and created it. Why don't we talk to the champ, our good friend, Ashley Williams. Ash, how you doing, sir?
I'm very well. Thanks for having me on.
It's good to see you back. Can you describe if you felt like throwing up once the armbar was secured? Because I think you've seen me now respond to it.
Yeah,
I don't know how you felt.
That video. I thought your response was quite funny. Like, it's the first time I've ever actually damaged an arm in any type of attack. So it was a big surprise to me, to be honest. It was more like kind of like a toe hold feeling, like when you feel like it's kind of like rupture, like the ankle, like ligaments snap or break. So I knew it was deep. I just knew it was deep, and I was like, man, I don't know how much more this arm's got in it, and I kind of just hit a kind of a weird angle. And when it did go, though, I was a bit squirmish. I was like, I don't want to get in a habit of doing this, you know.
I mean, the hard part is that you know that Red is a person who, he's a gamer, he's a grinder, and in many other positions he would squirm out of that, and then you're in a bad position. So you're kind of in that catch-22 of like, listen, I secured this position, I want to win with it, let's make it easier on both of us. And he was doing a good job. I thought at the very beginning, I was like, you know what? When he was in the traditional armbar, I said that was the closest he was probably going to get to getting out of it. Like the actual regular kind of like spiderweb kind of armbar setup. But it was once he started twisting out of it and you just changed the angle. Yeah. I was like, nope. So anyway, well, first off, congratulations to you. Are we supposed to refer to you as Mr. Champ or Ashley Williams Champ? Now, I'm not quite sure.
I'm not really big on the titles, to be honest. I'm all about the matches and the people I'm competing against. So I find it a bit surreal kind of reading people call me a champ and stuff, you know. Like, I love the fact that there's a lot of high-level promotions on in the UK or the world for grappling. But the same as like UFC, you know, like you're not really the world champion until you win, like MMA, you know, you're not the world champion until you win the UFC. So you could be Bellator world champion, but it's not really the same. You could be Cage Warriors world champion, but it's not really the same, you know. So until all the belts are unified, really ADCC and the World Gi are the only world titles, but I'm definitely happy to hold the current Polaris titles.
I hear you, but then I also heard you make a plug for going for champ, and it makes me think like, yes, that's all well and good, but what are you looking for at 145, sir?
That's what the fans want, you know. They want people who want to talk, and I prefer to be a doer, to be honest, than a talker. I'd rather just do my talking on the mat and just compete. And basically, any 145er that was in the ADCC this year, I'd love a match against them. Anyone who's ranked, you know, like, basically it's the toughest opponents I can find, because that's the thing I struggle with the most over in the UK is just frequency of competition and the level of competition. So at 145, I'm game for anyone, really. And if people want me to test myself and prove myself, then I'm happy to fight lower level guys and work my way up. I don't really mind. But I really want to solidify myself at 145. Polaris obviously give me a chance at 155, 135, but neither of those are kind of my natural weight. That none of them are where I want to sit at, and I want to prove that I'm the best 145er. So that's where I want to be.
And let's be real. I mean, 145 is that sweet spot for ADCC, and that was something that tell me a little bit about why you weren't able to do ADCC trials, because late in the game, when they were talking about replacements and, trying to get somebody back in there, you were volunteering, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it felt like when I'm seeing you put that out there, I see that you're almost talking to this empty void, it seems like, where you're just like, yo, but seriously, I'm really good, and I've got a resume, and I think I can do this. And I think when you see a performance like that, and especially with Red, who you mentioned, game competitor, it feels like you make a good statement on that stage. So tell us why you weren't able to do the trials.
So last year, I actually spent 9 months of the whole entire year in a cast, which I'm still actually waiting surgery on my wrist for. But I kind of just had to just come out of the cast and be like, look, it is what it is, and just train. It doesn't interrupt my training too much, but it's something I need to get fixed. And then I actually had a disc bulge in my neck after that 9 months in the cast. So every match I had last year, I only actually trained for like a week before the match when I fought Imanari, Ben Eddy, all these other tough guys. I literally cut the cast off my arm and then just competed. But unfortunately for ADCC trials, because it's not one match, it's like 4, 5, 6 matches in a day, I couldn't really cut the cast off my arm and justify trying to put 5 matches together in one go. I just felt like it would have done myself a disservice. I felt on the day it could have been an individual, but 5 matches back to back in that condition isn't really what you want. And then when the disc bulge came in my neck, obviously ADCC is very wrestling heavy, and that actually eliminated my wrestling as well, so I couldn't shoot. So like the pulling guard, my wrist was bad, shooting, my neck was bad. So I just had to miss both trials because I was literally out of the game, and then I came back in off those 2 injuries to fight Ethan, which I felt like I had a good performance. Obviously it was a very tough match and a close decision victory, but then when Ethan dropped out of ADCC, I felt like I was the rightful person to take the spot because I held the most recent victory over Ethan. And to be honest, I feel like if I was American or if I was at the trials, to be fair, I would have had a much better opportunity to get into ADCC. I was actually getting married 10 days before ADCC this year. Deliberately booked it actually after I missed both trials because I was like, at least it'll take my mind off the fact that I'm missing ADCC. But when the spot came up, I was like, told my fiance at the time, I was like, look, if I get the call, honeymoon's over. Like, I'm flying straight from the wedding and I'm going straight to California and I'm going to compete in ADCC. It's what I've always wanted. It's one of the biggest goals I've ever had, and it's my only target for the next 2 years. So it was a shame this time around, but that's why I felt like I needed to make such a big statement now, because I need to make sure my name is heard. I need to make sure people know who I am, so that I get on the right path this time to make sure that I don't miss out again.
And let's be honest, most of the people who do get some form of notoriety in jiu-jitsu aren't exactly people who stay quiet. There's a definite correlation that shows, hey, listen, you can't get the job unless you say you're interested in the job. And
for sure.
I 100% thought that was your biggest detriment, was the fact that you weren't in the States. As I was like, this conversation would be different
I agree.
if you were more local to us out this way, because one of the benefits that they did have at this year's ADCC was, it's like, well, if somebody drops out, then, you could drop a bucket. And there's going to be somebody literally ready to take that hand.
An abundance of unbelievable, talented people in America, especially close to where the tournament was as well, So I can't blame the guys at ADCC. And to be fair, they did reach out to me and explain the situation. And they did say that they were aware of who I am, which that was fantastic this afternoon. When I read that message, that was like a glimmer of hope, which was really nice. But obviously I didn't get the call. And I understand the replacements they put in, which I thought was totally fair. But obviously I do plan to make things different this time around.
Well, I want to say to your fans out there, because you have very vocal fans as well, there are moments when I get asked, like, hey, can you say, like, man, put out a good vibe, or put out a let's get behind this person, right? You guys are all very similar weight classes. I think one time put for somebody else, and I don't know who, but I put out like, hey man, consider this guy for either Kasai or for ADCC or whatever. And one of your fans was like, what about Ash Williams? And I was like, he's my friend too. Like, I don't, get off me, dude. Like, it's no disrespect to him. It's just, I don't know a ton of things, but I do know small ways about it. And I do know that one of the things that they like to pride themselves on is they like to make it an international competition. So if they already have certain slots that are filled by certain individuals,
of course,
you know that that's going to be a strike against you, even if you're not home base or not. And so to me, I was like, well, that really effing sucks. But here's the good news, is that it's more prone to your style as like, listen, I want to prove myself, I want to get out there, and I want to show you that I'm capable of that. And it was astounding to me that, especially after the momentum you got with your match with Ethan, that I'm like, I don't know how we're not doing you on a short list faster. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, as I said, like when Ethan dropped out, I felt like I was the reasonable replacement. But, I do understand the fact that ADCC is meant to be multinational. They hold trials in different locations for that reason. And they did say, if a European guy dropped out, then I would 100% be the guy they come to. But I know, man, if I won the European trials, I'm not dropping out. There's no way. No European guys give up their spot. There's no way, man. When you're in that position, I feel like unless you're going to get invited back, like, you're not going to give up your spot. No way, Well, so I knew that was slim.
Let's take a moment here to address something that I think we glossed over, which was you told your, at that point, soon-to-be wife, so if ADCC happens, this wedding's cool and all, but bye. Let's reschedule it for later. How did that go over?
No, she was really cool about it. Like, she understands that jiu-jitsu is my my true love. So the one thing that I just wouldn't give up for anything. And it's more so like same as last night when I competed. Like when you walk out, there's just no really feeling that can resemble it. There's just nothing. I just love competing, and that's win or lose. I love being out on the stage and performing, and ADCC is probably the biggest platform to do that, so I think she totally understood that. Not to say that you can get married any day, but ADCC is only once every 2 years, and the wedding was in Bali. It was all booked, 40 guests flying out, so it wasn't like, it was just like a little cancellation. Like, I was going to do the wedding and then just fly straight from Bali to California, and I had my kit in my bag. I had my kit in my suitcase, and I was ready to book a flight even up to the day of the wedding. I was ready to go. But yeah, she totally understands. My family totally understand. They know that I'm going to pursue this as far as I can. And every time I compete, that's all I want to do. I just want to test myself as the better guys. And I always find it surreal when I see my name on a card with guys like Tommy Laniger was below me on the card. That's insane. Like, that guy's unreal. So when I see my name on a card with these type of guys, it does hit me back sometimes,
Absolutely. And I actually had a very brief interaction with Tommy. I think at some point we'll be bringing him on the show as well, so I'm very excited for that. Cool. He's a beast too. He had a great match with Gilbert, and I'm asking this question now that I realize it. I know that you're so into the competition. Are you watching it as it's going live, or do you have to go somewhere else mentally?
No, so yeah, I sat in the stand in the crowd to watch the full undercard and just enjoyed it. I enjoy watching jiu-jitsu anyway. There's a lot of local home talent on the card, so I wanted to watch how they got on anyway. And then for the main card, I just sat in the change room. I don't do a massive warm-up. I do quite a brief warm-up, but we were watching the matches on the screens at the back, watching the whole card. The match before myself, I don't tend to catch as much of because I'm trying to put myself in the right headspace for my match. But I find like you can overthink it as well. If you sit with yourself too long in your own thoughts, they can almost throw you off your own game. So I'd rather just watch jiu-jitsu, and then when I see something, I'm like, oh man, I would have done that instead. Then I'm like, oh, I know my brain's switched on, I'm focused. And when it's go time, it's go time.
Well, speaking of go time, let's talk a little bit about how this match came together. And one thing that I want people to understand is respect to Rich for taking the match on 2 weeks' notice, but originally you had a different opponent. And one of the things I appreciate about your game is you are, at least in my mind, you're a good game planner, and I think that's a very undervalued aspect of your game, is that I know, in watching how you teach and watching how you do your game, I kind of have a little insight as to how you do a little bit of what you prep for. So when they tell you you're going to switch opponents, what's going through your mind, man?
So it was, I actually remember the exact time I found out when Zhao unfortunately to pull out. Obviously, when I got the message about the Zhao match, I was actually at my wedding. So I was in the middle of my wedding doing my speech, and I texted off my phone. And I was like, "What's that?" So I had a quick look down. I was like, "No way!" I was like, a message came through saying you versus Zhao confirmed for 135, and I was like, "This is berserk." So I stopped my speech and I say, "Guys, I've just confirmed I'm going to be fighting Zhao for the 135 title." And obviously the place erupts, everyone's super happy for me, and I was really, really excited. But I come back after a honeymoon and everything, and I was in camp then, and I was ready to go, and everything was on target, And then I was actually doing a lifting session 2 weeks ago on Friday. I was in the gym, and my phone was on the floor as I was lifting, and I looked down, and that message popped on my screen off the promoter saying, "I'm really sorry." And then obviously there was no space on the screen for the message, and I was like, I know what this is going to be. I picked up my phone, and it was like, Zhao's pulled. So I just dropped the weights, and I just sat there for 2 minutes, kind of just thinking, what should I do? And I thought, well, I may as well just finish off my set, and just crack on with my session. I messaged back saying, look, no worries, I understand. And if we can get a replacement, cool. But, I'm happy to take any match between 135 and 145. As long as it's a tough dude, I'm game. And they said, who do you want? And I was like, well, the only guy who's beating me. Zhao was an interesting match because it's Zhao Miao, but we had a draw. But what's better than a guy you drew against, a guy who's beating you? So I straight away, I was like, I want Richard Alcon, 100%. Let's make that happen, They let me stir for a day or two, and I was getting a bit restless. And I was like, when the Zhao match fell through, I lost a lot of motivation almost immediately on the spot, because I'd had Zhao in my head that I was going to beat him in 2 weeks' time. I knew that was going to be the outcome, and I knew he was going to finish there on high and make a statement. And then they messaged me saying, we're trying a few guys. We tried Gio and a few other dudes. They're not available on dates. And I was like, okay. I was like, look, message Richard. I'm telling you, I know the guy. He's a super nice guy, but he is game. He's always good to go. He's always training hard. I know he was going to do World Nogi, so he was ready to go, and I knew he wouldn't say no. So I was like, look, message him, and they messaged him, and then they got back to me and said, you want Richard Alcon? And I was like, 100%, 100%. But then on that Monday, so I found out Friday, on Monday I found out Richard. I go down to the gym on a Monday night, and my coach is like, right, change the game plan, and I was like, I spent 4 weeks, man. Trying to hit this home, how to beat Zhao. We had a big tactical game. I feel like my game is very all-rounded, and I can beat a lot of guys in a lot of positions, but I do try and beat particular people in specific positions. So as soon as I found out I was fighting Richard Alcon, so I got two coaches, my brother and Chris Reese. Chris oversees a lot of my training, and then my brother is my tactical advisor. He tells me exactly what I want to be doing in each match, what I don't want to be doing, where I want to go, where I don't want to go. And he watched just footage of Alcon, and watched my match with Alcon back. And he just made the adjustments, told me who to spar with, what kind of mindset to have. Unfortunately, the game plan for Alcon was actually, which didn't come across on the stage, but it was actually to not try to outpace him. I was going to try and stay quite relaxed and calm and just make sure I was dictating the pace. So what happened last time is Alcon managed to sucker me into frustration. I was chasing him. I was doing silly things. I wasn't doing clean technical jiu-jitsu, which I believe I that's one of my best attributes, is not making mistakes. And he was just making me make mistake after mistake after mistake. And I can't explain in my head what happened on that day, but yesterday that didn't happen, So my brother does do all my game planning, which he has done for probably the last 18 months. And I do trust him when he tells me, what to do. But the Alcon game plan was not something I'm passionate about. I like to be, I like to go head to head. I like to try and challenge people when they're the best. but I wanted to win this match, and I wanted to right or wrong. So I went with a load of guys in my gym who were wicked at like front headlock, darces, guillotines, and I just played patiently against them. And like, it wasn't my most fun 2 weeks of a camp, but it definitely made my head be in the right space, So it was a massive turnaround, bit of a crazy 2 weeks, but I'm super glad that it went the way it did.
Talk to me a little bit about this, because I see you talk to Palmer afterwards, and, it's kind of weird because here's my reaction to it. And I mean, obviously you saw the funny one, but I think the first moment that I perked up was when I saw you get on the inside of an arm drag with him. And I said, okay, that's probably going to do the reverse. If you're talking about the frustration that you felt at Kasai, that's going to get under a wrestler's skin. And so they're going to go to their kind of treasure trove of what they're used to, which is, for him, it's going to be wrestling. And I felt like one thing that I saw for you was you talked a little bit about the low single. So what was the preparation in terms of being ready for that?
So I actually took him down in our first match. I know a lot of people said he's a good wrestler, and I've not actually been taken down in a jiu-jitsu match in a really long time. I don't feel like my wrestling, maybe it's underrated, I'm not sure, but I've hit a few takedowns in almost every match I've had in the last year and a half. And I said I took Rich down in our last match anyway, and I felt comfortable on my feet. The only thing he is he's quick. He's super quick, great movement. Like, he shoots from head height, and he's on your feet straight away. And last time he got a few like really low doubles on me, like not shooting double to the waist or the knee line, but he was going straight down double ankle pick. And last time it's like I was a little off balance, a little bit, like not too wary of it. I wasn't quite sprawling, wasn't quite lifting. I wasn't really reacting like specific enough. I wasn't really going after exactly what I could do. So what I did a lot of is I went to Kimura trap a ton with people like me in a sprawl position, front turtle, with someone like wrapping both my legs, like holding on to me. And then I just kind of worked some sequences off there. Been working a lot of front headlock, a lot of Kimura. And when he hit me and he shot, and I was like, when I got the Kimura grip, I was like, man, I've got this. Like, I was like, man, he's knocking his arm back. I was expecting to take his back. The game plan was to get to his back and choke him, because he's lost a few matches that way. So that was actually the game plan. The game plan was go heel hook when he turns, take his back, and try to look for the choke. And then obviously I went for the heel hook straight away in the match and got him to turn, but I couldn't quite get close enough to the body to get the grip. And we distinguishedly made sure I didn't chase him. So if at any point he disengaged, if I chased, that's where he's going to get his front headlock, So we really made sure I didn't do that this time, which I did last time. You almost asked me last time I fought him. So when he shot, I got the Kimura grip, and I said I was expecting the back turn, but he didn't. He went flat, and the armbar switch was probably just a bit of a natural instinct. And I was really pushing for the finish this time. Like everything I was trying to get on him, I was pushing with venom to get the finish, because I didn't really want to go deep into the match. The guy's a great cardio. He's super fast, super quick. I didn't really want to be like 8, 9, 10 minutes deep with him.
Here's what I'm going to do to you right now, and I hope you understand why I'm doing this. I'm going to show you the same photo, because now, you posted it, so you've seen it. But I just want you to get an idea, and I want people to get the idea of what this looks like. But this right here, though, when you look at it, what is now the first thing that's going through your head when you see this photo?
I actually thought I had great forearm pump. My arms were looking pretty good. So that was pretty cool, But no, I wasn't leaving go. I wasn't leaving go of the arm. Once I transitioned 2-1 on the wrist, he wasn't hitchhiking, And my brother showed me some cool stuff. He works with trapping both legs over the shoulder as opposed to straight over the face. So straight on that, And then I knew the finish was coming, but I was just expecting a tap. And then when I heard this crunching sound, I was like, I don't want any of that, so I left go. But Richard put up a really good fight.
Well, the other thing is, just to fill people in, Rich was saying I think it's more ligaments. I hope him a speedy recovery. Obviously he's a buddy. He's local to me out this way in Cali, so I will definitely be checking in on him, because very good, positive-minded, nice dude. And that's what I really love about when you had the ability to choose anybody to go up against, you had somebody in mind and you're like, not only do I want this guy, he's nice, all that sort of stuff, but he's a gamer and he's going to give me that match that I want. So,
Yeah.
And more importantly, the other thing I want to bring up here is he's not afraid to go into enemy territory. And I'm going to point this out because I don't know that you can necessarily see this right now. I'll show it to you on our screen. But on the main screen right here, this is how deep you had people coming in. Like, the amount of people you had. Like, we're talking home field advantage here. Yeah,
for sure. No, that's why I had the biggest respect for him, to be honest, because it was like walking into my backyard, you know, like, and it's actually nice because I only get a fight in my, it's actually the, I think, first time I've ever fought in Wales professionally, which was really nice for me, you know, because the last time when I fought Ethan, I know it is still in the UK, but it was like 4 hours away from my house. So right. I only took like 3 or 4 people to support me then, you know, so it wasn't like I had the home field advantage. You know, I slept in a hotel, I was away from my family for the few days, you know, so it wasn't the same. But yeah, for sure, like I respect him massively for that. And I think I said to him straight away, as soon as I got back to the hotel, I messaged him to say, oh, look, I hope you're okay. And then I went to catch up with him quickly to make sure he was okay. And I said, if you want to run it back in Cali, I'm happy to, you know, because I feel like someone who's willing to travel across the pond and put themselves on the line, I should be willing to do the same, which I am. So I would definitely take the match.
That's very dope. I like hearing that. You also mentioned, let's discuss this. You also mentioned, I guess, one of the biggest benefits, and this is like the moment that I was pretty sure in your post interview that I was like, if I'm one of your dogs, I'm not sure that I felt I was going to get shouted out at the end of that match. But, you know, you mentioned the idea of being that close to home. And, I mean, you alluded to it right here. But did it make it that much more reasonable? Like, you were painting in the picture as if it was just kind of a normal day that happened to end with jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, so I've tried to really work hard on this in the last 1.5 years, because it actually started the first time when I fought Imanari, which was in London, and I had quite a good turnout to come and watch me compete. And it's one of the worst I've ever performed because I felt the pressure so much. I felt like I had to prove a lot to everyone. And I felt like Imanari was a really good opportunity for me, you know. I felt like he was a really good opponent at that time in my career. But I didn't really perform what I could have. And I think the biggest thing about it was because of how much I put weight on my own shoulders. No one else was putting pressure on me. I was just doing it to myself. And what I try to tell myself is every time I go compete, I'm just going to walk out on that stage as if I'm walking into the gym. And I'm going to do all my options and spar and perform like I would in class. You know, because I perform at my best in the gym. Like, I'll try like crazy techniques every single week. Rolling back takes, whatever you want, barambolos, jumping guard passes, flying triangles. You pick a technique and told me just try it for the next week, I would. And I would just have fun with it. But when you go to tournament, the worst thing you could do is seize up, because your decision-making process just go out the window. So I actually came home. So where the venue is an hour away from my house. So, you know, very, very close still. But I went up there for the weigh-in, and I was going to stay up there that night and then just compete the next day. And I actually just drove straight home after the weigh-in, and just to be in my own house, in my own bed. I said just chill out and have my own food. You know, just everything that you like about being home. You know, one of the things like in America, when I fought on Casa, for example, is after the weigh-ins, you refuel, rehydrate. It's not on your own home-cooked food. Yeah. You know, it's not on stuff that before I go training, I like to have a certain meal every day. So I eat that meal, then I go train, and I perform my best. So that's what I wanted to replicate. You know, I just want to be at my house and then just eat that meal and go to Newport and just compete. That's what I just wanted to do, you know. So, and it really helped me stay in the mindset of just being calm. Yeah, just being calm and ready.
So let me ask this: what the hell's the meal? I mean, if you're so into it, I want to know what this breakfast is to.
It's just a bacon, cheese, and egg bagel. it's nothing major, but like everything in America's not the same. You know, like so the bacon's not the same, the egg's not the same, the cheese not the same, the bagel's not the same. It's just nice to cook it in your own kitchen. And
so it's not prepared. It's one that you put together yourself.
Yeah. No, I just cook in my own kitchen and then just sit on the set, eat it, watch some TV, and then just jump in the car and drove to Newport.
Okay, all right. Well, the reason why I ask, and I ask obviously about the home field advantage, is because I always ask people like what they do to celebrate. In this particular case, that means you know all the places to go celebrate. So does a celebration happen after the event's done? No, you were done.
I don't celebrate at all because I feel like if you pre-plan a celebration, you're overlooking your match. You know, like if I want to celebrate, I'll celebrate next week with my family. Like I'm going out for some food with my family on Tuesday night. I might have a beer, but that's about it. You know, like I'm not one for going out much anyway. But I just think that the goal is the goal. You know, my focus is the match. And if I had lost that match, if I'd won that match, my after match would have been the same. I would have just gone and say hello to everyone and said thank them for coming to watch. I had a beer with everyone after they came out to the show. And then I went to McDonald's. I got 20 chicken nuggets, went back to my hotel room, ate the 20 chicken nuggets, and went to bed. So
let me get this straight. The man who's bemoaning that when he's in a different city and place is like, I just can't get my good meal. When he has the opportunity at home.
Post meal, 20 chicken nuggets every time. Yeah.
The great thing is I'm going to be able to explain this to my wife whenever we're hitting that spot of, man, I'm so hungry. And I'm going to be like, babe, I'm getting a 20-piece chicken McMeal because that's the meal of champs.
Yeah, that's what Usain Bolt, Usain Bolt in the Olympics, he was on the chicken nuggets. It's where it's at.
Well, it's funny because I was telling somebody that after the finishers tournament, I went to go commentate that a couple weeks ago with Big J. And, it's Zach. You've been out that way. It's Philly. So obviously it's foreign to me, but I'm like, oh, it's a city. So you're kind of okay. And we hit a certain point where the tournament ended at like 1 a.m. and I was dying for food. And here I was looking for anything to be open. And I explained to my wife, she was like, what were you up to? She messaged me. She's like, what's going on? I was like, oh, nothing. Just at a Taco Bell, eating by myself. No big deal. Living the life, really,
Yeah, I think that's the part I always say to a lot of people when they say, like, oh, it must be so cool competing professionally and all this, and doing jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, I don't think you understand how many inside of hotel rooms you see and how many fast food outlets you see. And it's not probably all what people think it is. It's not all glamour and glitz. No. It's a lot of hard work, determination, and just a few joys you get. The fact that I got a win last night and then everyone congratulates me today is excellent. But at the end of the day, tomorrow I'm going to go back in the gym and I'm going to go back to work. I'm just going to go back training hard because I won that match and it's time for the next match. So I'm not going to sit there for too long.
Well, you're not going to win that match again by just resting on your laurels. You
exactly.
Work toward, I'm sure, what your next goal is. And we have somebody here is Ewan Jeffrey, who says, can't wait to see Ash at ADCC 2021, cutting through guards like a hot knife through butter. You have these comments over here that don't just manifest overnight. Like, there's something that you have to immediately get back to if that's the goal that you want to be hitting.
Yeah, ADCC 2021 is my only priority. It's literally the only... I don't mind if I lose matches between now and then and gain the experience I need for ADCC. That's fine. I'll take any match with anyone, wrestlers, whatever. I just want to be competing all the time because when ADCC come around, I'm not wasting that opportunity. I'm going in there to turn some heads and maybe cause a few upsets. I really want to get going on that platform.
Well, having said that, what is coming up next? Because, this is the thing I'm always baffled with. And I know that part of this is due into the fact that, yes, you're across a little bit of ocean for us here in the States. But we're familiar with you. We know your work. We like what you do. You seem to have a very similar passion for hunting a submission that I think a lot of prominent people internationally do. But what is coming up next? Because I always feel like we are always like, you've got 1 or 2 matches, but I don't understand how your plate's not full.
Yeah, I don't get, I kind of struggle with getting the matches I kind of want or need at this point in my career quite frequently. That's one of the things I found quite crazy last time when I came out to finishers and I was training with Jem and Zach and I actually had a match with...
Justin Battle.
Who did I match on Kasai? I thought...
It's Kalstein, or are you talking about...
No, I didn't fight Kasai on Kasai.
Akasai, Junie. I'm trying to think of all the people in the tournament. I'm drawing a blank, but I'm sorry. What were you
It was
alluding
one
to?
of the Dan Hay guys. So I fought on Kasai, and I went into like their school in 10th Plant Bethlehem, and I was like, "Oh, have you guys ever fought him?" And they were like, "Yeah, I fought him 3 times. I fought him 5 times. I fought him." You went around the room, and every single person I fought, like every single person I could name, like tons of times.
Yeah.
And I was just like, "What?" Like, and they're like, "Yeah, if I want the match next weekend, I could just be like, cool, I'll just get that match over there, and that's that, you know." And that's one thing I think I struggle with the most, being geographically where I'm located, is that I can't just go, I'll have a match every weekend this month. And so me and my brother, we you know, me, my coach, and we've spoken about quite a lot about coming out to the States for maybe a month or 2 months, and basing myself out there so I can get a string of matches in, do a camp here, go out, compete 5, 6, 7 times, and then come home, have a bit of downtime, and just do that process a few times to make sure I can get the amount of matches that I'm after, you know?
Absolutely. Well, I guess if that were to be said, I mean, where are you looking to get on? Who are you looking to have matches with? I mean, help these very, very uneducated promoters get on the bus if that's
Well,
what we're trying to do here, sir.
I think I think one match that was meant to happen that was unfortunate on my end was I was actually lined up for maybe for a match with Keith Krikorian on Finishers, the one that just went. But unfortunately Polaris clashed with it, so I couldn't take the match. But that is definitely a match I'd like to rebook, you know, Keith on Finishers. And then Lucas Pinheiro and Sam Ashantry are actually fighting on Fight to Win for the 145 title. And that is one that I would definitely want the winner of. I would love that match. Like tomorrow, that would be a dream match for me. Either one of those guys, because Samir actually holds a win over me on my first ever match as a black belt. So I would actually like to run that match back. He beat me by an advantage in IBJF, and you know, like in sub only, I think it's a different ball game, and I bring a different game in that format. And that was 6 years ago, so I've got a lot of experience on my plate since then. So I'd like that match if I could. But Fight to Win is definitely a platform I really want to push myself on, because I feel like that's such a huge platform in America, and that's really where I want to build my fan base or build my support, because I feel like that's where a lot of the hub of jiu-jitsu is now, you know. It's where a lot of the control is. It's where a lot of, if you're popular in the States, then you're going to be popular to promoters, you know. So Kasai, Fight to Win, and Finishers off the top of my head would be my dream promotions to get on early next year. Obviously keep going for the Polaris route over this side. But the problem is, obviously, when I find Polaris this side, is it's never a convenient time for you guys, so it's not like I'm getting the exposure at the right time for you guys to watch. And obviously, some guys might just skip past my fight last night. You know, you never know. Like, some people might have just tuned in to watch Luke Rockhold. So it's hard to say. You know, like, it's difficult to know what the right show at the right time is. But I know the 16 people I want to compete against, and that's everyone who did ADCC this year. So I just fought one of them. So there's 15 left, and that's the only thing that's on my mind.
That's a good movie MacGuffin that you got there, sir. It's a nice little motivating plot in a movie. It's like, well, I've already gotten one. Now I got to go through each one of these folks. Yeah.
So I'm just going to try and line up as many as I can. And it's not a case of just to prove I can beat them, you know, because I'm sure they can beat me as well. You know, these dudes are the best on the planet. But if I got a chance, if I want to win ADCC, if I can't beat them in a one-off match, then how am I going to win ADCC? You know, so I just want to get that experience under my belt before I go into that tournament format.
Well, being honest too, I mean, if Polaris just kept it local for you, you would be running into the same problem the guys had over in New York, which is, oh yeah, I've had matches with that guy like 5 or 6 times. You're trying to expand that base and say, like, listen, it just so happens those guys in New York tend to be like super good or on the East Coast. Yes. But I want to be in that mix. I want to have at least one of those matches that becomes to the point where I can check off those boxes so that you get that intel that you need so that you can get to your goal.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I totally agree. You know, like, I just, like, I want to be stateside as much as I can, because I feel like the professional jiu-jitsu there is more frequent, and it just gives me more opportunity to compete on as much as I can. And another big one I want to do is I want to fight on as many promotions that are Flow Grappling, because Flow keep ducking me in the rankings. So I want to fight on Flow Promotion so that I can try and get in the top 20 before ADCC, because
Well, I mean,
it's hard to get on ADCC, you know, like they look at the, I know they look at the rankings, you know, so I want to be in there.
It's intriguing though, because I will honestly be interested to see where your ranking goes on a non-flow show.
So would I, yeah.
It's intriguing because the matchup and the ranking of both you and Rich should be enough to move you up a little bit. Here's the hard part that it is to understand. I feel like those rankings are meant to drive you guys nuts. Like, I feel like they are a built-in version. And the guys who do it, I mean, it sounds like a fun thing to do. The only thing I have against it is I'm not going to buy to go against a paywall to see what the rankings are. Because I'm always like, I don't give a shit what your rankings are. Like, you can put them on there and give it to me for free. But if you're going to ask me to pay for your rankings, that's like asking somebody down the street at your local bar and being like, hey, dude, do you know who these grapplers are? Rank them, and I'm going to pay you $20 for it. And
yeah,
it's like...
I for sure think the rankings should just be public knowledge for everyone, you know, because... And it's more an opinion based than anything, you know, but it's more a case of I know people look at those rankings, and if my name was amongst those names, it would just help me build my platform.
It helps you make the argument. I totally understand it.
Yeah.
I'm letting you know that there are a bunch of us who would rather see highlight clips like the ones you continue to put up and the matches that you have with Ethan as being your currency. And I would want that to be the thing. And it would be nice if the people who make those rankings, and I know a couple of them, so no big deal there, but I know that if they're doing their job right, that they should be placing you, whether it is a promotion within their system or not. And I feel like, yeah, part of that is kind of conspiratorial, but there is a real kind of question of, does that matter? Because I think Polaris is a reputable organization, and I think that you put on some good matches there, sir.
Yeah, well, that's what, like, probably the most enjoying factor for me after I compete is actually the excitement my match produced. That's one of the things that I pride myself on. I don't think you could put me and boring in the same sentence when it comes to jiu-jitsu. You know, I don't even if I lost, you know, it doesn't matter. That when I lost to Alcon, in my opinion, that was still contender for fight of the night. You know, and my matches tend to always be contender for fight of the night because I bring a high-paced attacking style of jiu-jitsu, and it might not give me the result every single time, but it's the style I want to do because it's the style people want to watch. Yep. I want to just be professional, you know. I want people want to pay to watch jiu-jitsu, and some of the matches that were on, for example, last night, and it happens on all cards, is you get like maybe two heavyweights just leaning on each other. You get two guys just butt scooting. You can guarantee my match. If they sit down, I'll try and pass. If they try to wrestle, I'll try to wrestle. You know, like, I want to be exciting. And when I finish my match, the best thing I ever see in the comments is, man, that was so entertaining. Like, you're such an exciting fighter. You know, like, I don't really mind if it's about did I win or lose. I want people to be entertained.
It's a good philosophy. And I mean, honestly, dude, you know, it's funny. There's a nice amount of us who may be a small voice in the void, but at the very least, you're continuing to build a nice army of us. Because I know when I put up the video, I got notes and people saying to me, they're like, oh man, that's oh yeah, that was my reaction too, to his armbar, and oh god. And I was like, it just shows that there's a little bit of excitement. So I think the important thing is you do what you do, let us do what we can on our side, and you know, again, it's a great credit. I think much in the same way how you've got, say, Canuto, who's become like a very, very prominent star of Kasai. I feel like you're building a nice resume of being like a franchise player for Polaris. I think that you've continued to produce for them, and I think it'll be very smart of them to continue giving you those matches that I think are worthy of it. And credit to them for getting Rich. I thought that was a really good get for you.
I thought it was brilliant. I give Polaris total props for that because they didn't really have any, they didn't have to get that match from me at all, you know, they didn't have to make that work out. And I think that's massive credit to them and Rich himself because it was 2 weeks, you know, and it's a big match. It's my hometown. But I was thoroughly overjoyed when I got that match. I thought it was brilliant for me. And I think the big thing is this year I've had a few convincing, solid performances where I've actually got finishes in my matches. I've had a lot of very tight decision wins in the last year or so, but in the last 6 months, I've actually picked up my submission rate. So I think if I can keep that going into next year, then obviously the more guys you're putting away, the more heads you're turning, and then the more heads you're turning, the more pull I'm going to get, I suppose. And then I can probably call out the matches that I want a bit more, and I can actually ask for certain people on certain promotions. The only thing I'm trying to do now is trying to push myself towards as many titles as I can, because that's how I feel I'm going to get the best names. Like if you get a title on Fight to Win, you're going to get a big name next. And it's not, for me, again, it's not the title I want. It's the names I want. So if you get the title, then you can demand the name. And that's where I'm trying to push my career, because I feel like once you get the titles on a few shows, that's going to keep you active.
Well, that's great. Are there plans? Because I saw that the dog that you have at the house was festively dressed up, one might say.
Yeah.
So do you have plans for the holiday, considering that there's nothing super crazy coming up for a competition, or what happens next for you?
So basically, Christmas was cancelled until today, because everyone was like, "Are you excited? You put your decorations up? Are you doing this?" And we were down in the gym last week. We were doing a bit of work in the gym, like change up the change rooms and that. And my Chris was like, "Oh, let's put on some Christmas music." I was like, "No, it's not Christmas yet." I was like, "We can't have Christmas music. Turn it off. Like, no one's allowed to be joyous. No one's allowed to enjoy life until Sunday." I was like, all my family are putting, like, in the fam group we've got, they're like, "Oh, look, my tree's going up." And I was like, "Take it down now." I was like, "It can't happen. Like, there's no fun until Sunday." So now that the match is out of the way and I can chill out a bit, I just want to have a bit of family time, eat a little bit of chocolate, and just enjoy some downtime, really. I think people underestimate the mental stress of competing. The physical part isn't as bad as what people think it is. I think I'd rather train every day than not train, but it's the mental pull competing can have on you is what gets you fatigued, and that's where I want to recharge my batteries. I want to let my head have a bit of space, a bit of time, and just enjoy the holidays.
Well, I guess now I'm pretty glad that you ended up winning, because otherwise you might have grinched this Christmas for your family and been like, "We don't celebrate Christmas anymore. Christmas is something of years past."
It could have gone one of either way, Like, I could have either just cancelled Christmas, or I could have spent my money and put myself into a bad position. And
he's sitting there and he's like, "What's Cyber Monday? Just give me all your deals. I don't care."
Yeah. So no, but yeah, it was a real nice way to end the year for me. There's 2 titles this year, a title on Pantheon. There's some real good matches under my belt, So and it puts me into a great position, I think, to start next year with a ton of good matches. Oh, the other one I'd love to get on is Third Coast Grappling.
I believe I'm actually talking with Ryan this week to promote his event. I think I'm talking with him on Tuesday on the show. So we'll put in a good word.
Such a big event, man. The cards are unreal, and the one I try to push a lot with American promotions is it'll get UK guys to watch. If you get a UK based athlete on there, then you're going to draw in a different fan base that you didn't have before. Because a lot of the application forms go, "How many tickets could you sell?" And I'm like, "Well, 0. I can't sell a ticket." But what I can do is I can bring exciting jiu-jitsu and a fan base that maybe you didn't have before. So
it's true. And I mean, think of it like this. This is that domestic buy between wrestler versus jiu-jitsu guy. So it's got an intrigue. I don't know its international appeal. Gord would be the first to tell you, I'm international and blah, blah, blah. But honestly, you need draws from everywhere. So I don't think it's the case. Yeah. And you know what's going to be great? And I predict this for you, because it's not wrong for the promoters to say, "Hey, listen, I need a return on investment. I need you to sell some tickets," sort of a thing. Totally understand that. But you do notice that as you start to elevate and you get more wins, or you get more of an elevated status, that they start saying, "Just give me a good match." And I feel like your resume is nicely building to asking you less about ticket sales and more about giving a match, because I'll just kind of repoint this out to the people who are watching right now in case they didn't see it earlier. If these many people are coming to see you in the hometown, I'm always curious to see how those people are when you're not on a card, because they flood my social media if we hashtag you or we put you on. So I think it's worthy, but more importantly, you're a guy who likes to let your resume speak for itself, and I think that's the path you should continue.
I do feel back home. Like, I've got a big love for a lot of the guys, you know, like, it's actually what gave me my first break ever. The very first thing I got on was EBI, which in reality I didn't have any right to be on. But everyone back home just give me the push, and since that day my kind of whole world's changed, and that's what I'm super grateful for. You know, it's just so good to have people behind you that want to watch you compete.
I mean, I'll tell you this much: if everybody was based off of meritocracy on where they're supposed to be at every single moment, there wouldn't be much movement in this world. So, you know, I always tell people, I'm like, yo, listen, we all want the meritocracy as our main reason to get on, but once you get on, you're on, and do your thing. And
that's what I was thinking. If you put me on a platform, I'll be back, because I won't be boring. You know, and that's what I always just want a foot in the door, because I know if I can just talk to the promoter, if they can just watch me compete on their stage, I can convert the fans. You know, in Casa last time, I had no one there supporting me, and by my second match, a lot of people support me. You know, like, it's crazy. You know, you stand up and people are like, no, that's not a score, and people are shouting for you, rooting for you, and it's what you can do, you know, with good jiu-jitsu. So it's exciting.
Maybe what we need to do is put you on, because I mean, the Polaris crowd is a lively crowd. We'll put it that way, mildly. Especially when you introduce a few cocktails into their body, one might say. But I feel like we should put you on like a bar tour of like you going to fight in places where they give drinks out, and be like, yo, if you have any alcohol in you, you're the perfect fighter to watch, because you're going to give them that kind of great movement, but at the same point, they're going to learn technique by proxy. So it's one of those things that it's like, it's a mechanism. If you enjoy
jiu-jitsu, like, if you enjoy jiu-jitsu, you know, like, I think I'm a guy you can get behind, because you don't need to know me to just enjoy good jiu-jitsu. You know, like, if you watch some of the other matches on the card last night, I think they were only exciting if you knew the fighter.
Yeah.
You know, but if you didn't know the fighter, then you probably didn't care about the match at all. So, like, I think that's the type of fighter I am, where you can get behind if you don't know me, because
you know, and I mean, it doesn't hurt. I mean, you could have had a good, nice interest of people who were tuning in for a Luke Rockhold who became fans of you yesterday. So you never know, man, because they may come for the giant, not quite steroids, but quasi-steroids main card, but stay for the technical little guy who's now a champ in 2 divisions.
Unfortunately, although I felt like I put on a good one last night, I think the show stealer was the gi. I think Espen and Laniger,
right?
like, they're the type of guys. They're the gi version of myself, I believe. You know, where like you put them in a match, it's going to be entertaining. And
I'll tell you this much, I'm honestly, I have to credit Polaris for still holding strong on keeping the gi alive, because
for sure.
You know, I train a bunch in the gi, and I love the gi, and I understand it's not everybody's cup of tea, but for me, I think when it's really done purely, and I thought, so we had a friend who actually lives in the UK. He was messaging me, and he goes, who do you have between Gilbert and Tommy? And I said, you know, I think the advantage is Tommy. I didn't know it was in the gi.
Sure. Yeah.
And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, I didn't know it was fucking... If I had known it was in the gi, I would have totally said, like, Tommy has this. 100,000%.
When, did you see Espen's finishing sequence?
Yes.
Yeah, that was some of the slickest jiu-jitsu I've seen. He was in our change room, and he came back in. I walked up to him, and I was like, Espen, man, that was unreal. But it's reasons like that why I quit the gi. I don't want none of that heat, you know?
I always joke with people when I'm rolling with somebody who's really good at gi. I'm like, you know what? Well, we go no gi and see what happens. And then if they're super good at no gi, I'm like, well, you know, I'm quitting jiu-jitsu today. No big deal. Yeah. We had somebody here, James Wyatt, propose this one, and I'm not against it. But James Wyatt said, Third Coast Grappling, Jordan Hawley versus Ash Williams.
Yeah. I'd compete against anyone.
Dope.
I don't know who Jordan Hawley is. I'm assuming he's very good though.
He's very good. I would highly recommend if you get the opportunity to check out a show. It's called Shugio. It was the Invitational where they did the sub-only time limit. He was in that. He's also got a very good set of matches. He's one of those Third Coast guys as well.
Nice.
He's always super entertaining. Very, very good competitor. I'll send you some stuff on him. He's good, man.
No,
he would
I'll
be
check
a fun
him out.
match.
Is he a 145er or?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. All of you guys who are below 160 to me are tiny. Because as a fat human being, all of you guys go into one weight category. So, like, to me, if you're not my weight and above, then I'm usually just like, yeah, he's about you guys could make it happen. You'd probably just not eat for a day and you guys would be the exact same weight. I'd
be down for whatever, yeah. I'm in. You don't have to convince me. Like I said, I just want any American grappler is cool.
Well, I look forward to that.
Australian
and
grappler.
I hear that you have a match in February. We cannot release anything more about it, but that sounds like a very good opportunity. I know that you've got a lot more coming up, sir. So we are always very, very pleased to see you do the thing. And like I said, man, it's a tough thing to sit there and watch when you know two of your friends are going. But I always get excited because I knew it was the two right friends where I said they're going to put on a good match no matter what happens. Yeah. And I was very happy to see that happen. And, super stoked for you. I made clear yesterday after I said what I said, because I had another audience member ask to recap your armbar at the end of the telecast. And I literally was on air going like, you want me to recap that again? You want me to relive that? Okay. And as I explained it, I said, here's what I want to say. We're obviously very pleased with what you did, and we're just concerned about Rich, and you were concerned as well. But I said the hardest part about it is that you want to be fair is you never want that to undercut how good the technique and what you did was. So that's one of the things that we never want it to get in the way of, and it's a hard work that you deserved, and I'm happy that you were able to become champ. Good sir.
Thank you very much. No, I appreciate it. I do believe good break mechanics in submissions is a tough thing to do, so I'm glad to know it's there, but obviously I'm very, very gutted at the fact that I did injure someone, and obviously I just wished Rich the quickest recoveries,
I mean, I'll tell you too this much. I'm pretty sure I'll still see Rich on the mats with one arm, and I'm still sure he would kick my ass. So I'm pretty sure he'd.
Sure. That's one thing. I think like a few guys maybe are sleeping on Rich. Like I don't know if people understand how good that guy is. So like the guy's legit. He's ranked 9th for the moment. He got top 8 in ADCC. Like the guy is not a sleeper. Like he's legit. So I wish him the best recovery because I want him back on the circuit as soon as possible.
Well, I'm sure he will be, and I am very pleased, man. I can't thank you enough. You were able to take time out of your schedule, literally minutes after it. To me, on a win, we were able to coordinate this, and that really means a lot that you were able to come on because whenever you see those big moments, you're like, all right, I better not interview this guy in 2 weeks because I'm over it. I literally got on the phone. You're like, yeah, anytime, dude. I was like, oh, well, then how about today? And he goes, yeah. So I appreciate that, man. Can we take care of any last shout-outs before we get you on out of here, sir? Anybody you want to thank that helped you on your match and all that?
This is always just want to thank Tommy for sponsoring me and a few other guys. And the biggest one always goes out to my team and my family. I'm always the best believer in that you're only as strong as the support around you. And although we do an individual sport, I just believe that the people around you are what make you be able to perform the way you do. So I'm always super grateful to them, in particular my wife, my brother, my coach, and my close family. Like I just couldn't do what I do without them, and I know they sacrificed a lot for me. So I'm really grateful.
Well, we appreciate that. The last thing we're going to leave you on is we had a question here that said Sean Anthony McDowell, who says, would like to see Ash against Kennedy Marcial. Unsure on the weights, though, question mark.
Yeah, I'm down, 100%, yeah. That's actually, he's one of the names that came up for the replacement on Polaris. I just don't think we could have made it work in time. But I don't think, obviously, that'd be like 145, 155. I actually asked for Tanquinho pretty much immediately after the match. I just walked out, I was like, do you know who'd be the best guy? Tanquinho. He just won ADCC. If I want to make a statement, probably just go straight to the top of the tree in it, so but I would love a match against anyone, really.
Absolutely. Well, I think we're going to go and end on that. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to say thank you, Ash. Always good to see you. Give my best to your brother as well, and tell him great strategy work on his part. I know he is a silent assassin who's working with you over on that side as well. But they're good people. The Williams boys are great. Here's what I'm going to do to you guys. Don't go away, because we still have more show coming up for you right now. In case you were wondering, our next guest is William Tackett. And William Tackett is another individual who's beasting his way through the ranks. He just recently won the Grappling Idiots invitational tournament. I don't know what we're calling it, but Grappling Idiots, he won that thing. Plus, we probably have other questions that we want him to answer about other things. And I'm sure he knows that we're going to ask about that. So anyway, ladies and gents, stay around. After these commercial breaks, we will actually be right back with more show. Again, my thanks to Ash Williams. When we return, we will have our good friend, young William Tackett. I mean, this entertains me. I don't know how much it's going to entertain you guys. But when you look at it, look at the possibilities. So it's Luke Rockhold and then Luke Rockhold with 3 hearts, which begs the question. Was 2 hearts too little? Is 3 hearts way more important? Luke Rockhold feat also has fewer than 100 posts, by the way. Luke Rockhold Invitational. Where do these come from? Like, what the fuck are half of these? Luke Rockhold Day also has fewer than 100 posts. Luke Rockhold Me? It sounds like a bad 80s Whitesnake song. This was good. I don't know if you guys saw this in particular in the match, but there was a moment where I thought that Tommy could finish this armbar. It looked like he was starting to make the adjustments, but he didn't quite do it in time. And then, of course, he ends up getting the decision win, rightfully so. Big respect to him. This kid, I mean, just look at it. Look at that face. The only time I've ever had that face in my life is when I beast food. It was me after Thanksgiving this year. Congratulations to him. However, Ash gets a Kimura grip over on. It is not looking good. He might have an armbar here over on. Oh, Red is in danger. That arm is in severe danger. I don't know that Red is okay. I think his arm might have gone on that in transition. Ash Williams is a beast. Wow. They're now replaying the footage where it already looked like a really conventional armbar. As Ash was trying to finish here, Red was doing his best to go and circle on out of it. The angle that then happens on it is gruesome. It's up there with Pearl's break, and they're showing the other angle, and I'm just not going to watch. Nah, I'm good. Look at this. This is one that I want to make sure we're on right now. Yo, respect to Michelle Nicolini. Look at this toe hold. It's a decent angle here. Big respect to you, Michelle. You did not see it. Y'all missed out. I know it's on super late, but man, it was good. It was a lot of fun, and major props to our good friend Gio Martinez. Gio Martinez was doing the commentary for that one, and I thought he actually did a fantastic job. So if you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. But I can maybe show you one of these clips. This was one of the more crazy submissions that they had on Polaris yesterday, and check out this right here. So this is not only a rear naked choke, but it's still a calf crusher. Like, just the absurdity of being like, what am I even tapping to? And the rest of the team reaction, I didn't see that. That was great. The rest of the team's reaction, like, huh? What? Oh.
Here now to comment on how he beat USADA somehow. The one, the only, Stockton's own Nate Diaz. Nate, this is unprecedented for someone that I assume uses LSD, shrooms, and I know uses marijuana. How were you able to somehow get past the USADA Gaming Commission?
And number gangster pie,
Yeah.
pie. Yeah, bitch, first of all, they disrespected me because I got out there and I was like, what the fuck? You guys think I'm on drugs? I mean, I am, but the good ones. And like the hard part is like, Kev, when you look at me, dog, like, do you think I'm on steroids?
No, I do not. You look like the kid in middle school that like hadn't hit puberty yet. Usually, like I mean, in a compliment, you're very trim.
Yo, I think that's mostly a compliment, but like I take you at your word of you don't think I use steroids. So imagine my fucking surprise when I fucking look around. USADA's like, you got shit in you, dog. And I was like, nah, dog, I don't. And then I was like, tell me what it is. And then they told me some bullshit that I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I would never put that in my body.
Never.
No. USADA told me a possibility is that I like smoke so much marijuana that like I'm actually creating new drugs in me, dog. So like what they did was they told me, dog, hey, we won't go public about it. And I was like, bitch, I will. And I did. And I put them on blast. And once I did that, I was like, you guys can't USADA me. I USADA you.
This is me spitballing, but I assume you know Judge Judy, that you two are friends. And this is the type of exact situation you would text her and be like, I need to come on, and I have a friend coming with me.
I know who the fuck Judge Judy is, so like, don't talk to me like I'm a child, because I know who she the fuck is. Do you know how many of my friends have been on Judge Judy?
I assume a lot.
Like all of them, dog. I was like, fine, I choose to represent myself. And I went in there and I went in my total, like I put on like a half suit. And I just like, I punched my hands together and I was like, Your Honor, this whole system's out of order and you're out of order and I'm out of water. I told those bitches, I was like, I'm not going to fight. And you apologize. Yeah, don't say dog. It's
Sorry,
just
I tried. It didn't feel. I was just trying to end it.
Like when I do it, I'm like, when you do it, it's like, oh, yo,
it's condescending. Yeah, it's a hard og. It's a way too aggressive og.
I put on a suit. I'm Kim Bill. I have conformed to noble society.
Yeah, I'll work on that.
Do you like the layering of that voice though? Because like that's an impression of you, and like I don't do impressions, you know.
I do know that about you. Nate Diaz, the one, the only. Will we see you fighting this Saturday against Masvidal?
1 second, dog. I'm just taking a rip off this bong right now. Oh shit, dog.
Sounds
yeah,
like a tentative hard yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, dog. That's some good shit. Guess what? I just figure right now, like, well, I already beat USADA, so I'm just putting some cocaine in my system too, because I'm like, bitch, try and come at me now, bitches. I made you all my fucking little bitches.
Verbal Tap fans, Nate Diaz.
Yo, I can't wait for The Rock to put that fucking fake ass belt on me, so that way I can tell you motherfuckers, I'm the real fucking bad motherfucker of whatever weight I'm supposed to be. So fuck y'all, smoke weed every day, and fuck you, USADA. Shit, not gonna lie, I missed the joke.
He's
Hold
back.
on.
He's
Hold
back.
on. Let's go back. I had one more joke.
He's got one more joke.
The joke was this. Guess what? When USADA was like, hey, we found some traces in your system of some bullshit. You know what I told him?
What?
Hold up. Wait. We don't. Wait. Gotta keep it. That's episode.
It's like, is that job rule? No.
No, fuck. God damn it. You know what? I'm fucking out. Fuck that.
I'm upset. That's
fucking.
It was a fire festival.
I'm out this podcast now, bitch.
Murder. All right. Verbal Tap fans, the one, the only, Nate Diaz.
Camera on?
I believe you are. Actually, your camera is not on right now. But here's the good news. The young man that we do have on, that's about to come on, and for your entertainment and mine, he's had kind of a... Yep, you're on now, except it's backwards. He's had an interesting past few weeks. Obviously, he's an individual who's internationally travels all over the place. He's a game competitor. You know him from many things. Perhaps most recently, you may know him as somebody who won Grappling Idiots, which we'll talk a lot more about. But I believe you may know him in something that I'm vaguely connected to, and I feel we should just address that up top. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the show our good friend, William Tackett. William, how are you doing, sir?
Doing very good. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure.
Well, let's get it out of there. What the fuck happened to your face, kid? When Tex was doing that to you, you do know how many notes I got, and I guess the first thing I'm going to ask you is, because that's what people want to know, when he punched you, what went through your head?
Pretty much I think whatever everyone else's head, the same thing, right? I think that I was just extremely confused. I thought we were like grappling, so it was kind of like, I was really confused. I was like, whoa, what just happened? And yeah, I was a little bit kind of nervous because I figured he was like really pissed off. And I was like, I wouldn't say I was like scared or anything, but I was a little bit like, whoa, what just happened? Ref, please save me.
Because it's not every day that happens. Did it hurt? Like, what did it feel like? Because it was kind of like an animal instinct on his part where it just kind of like pawed at you. And I'm glad that you took it like a champ. So like everybody had a lot of nice things to say about you afterwards, but it's not, I think, a scenario you wanted to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it was just more of him just reacting in the moment, you know? It didn't hurt too bad. I've been punched before, and it wasn't like a full-on, like he wasn't standing and grounded and punching me, so it wasn't that bad. But, I mean, still was a punch, and it was pretty surprising, you know? But, yeah, I mean, it's all good. He apologized after and stuff. He said it was just...
We're going to get to that, because the thing that I've tried to say is I was privy to seeing you guys later that night, and I've made sure to include that in every version of the story I've told about it, which was there was one thing that I thought was important to the scenario, which was you weren't acting mad about it. You weren't acting crazy about it, which I think is the barometer of how others should act. Like, we on the internet, or we who are watching it, can't act more aggressively angry about it than you can as it's happening. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not super upset by it, then okay, we've just got to move on. But the one thing I was telling Gordon as it happened on air live in front of us was, I was like, it doesn't belong to us anymore. Now it belongs to the internet.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty insane. It was pretty crazy. I was just more kind of like shocked that it kind of happened, you know, because I've made people mad in fights before, or, you know, maybe gotten a little bit emotional, and my opponent's the same way, but never have I like gotten striked or anything like that in a match. So for me, I just try to like handle it the best way possible. You know, I just try to I don't know, shake it off, maybe keep the match going. You know, the thing is I always told people, the people say like, oh, you should have got DQ'd and stuff, or he should have got DQ'd, and I was like, I'm really kind of not too upset that he got DQ'd, because like the fact that I was able to get my game going after that happened was kind of a plus for me, because I didn't get to do anything up until the punch, because it was like a minute and a half into the fight or something like that. So it wasn't like I was dominating the match or anything, and then he just punched me. Like, it was, you know, nothing really had happened yet. So the fact that I was able to keep going and then, you know, get some guard passes in and a back take was something that I was kind of happy about. You know, like I said,
don't get me wrong, we definitely had a few comments. One of which was, man, he should get punched more often. He really came alive after that happened. So, you know, like, it's weird, because I'll ask you this, and maybe this is vain and it's a questioning, but did you watch it back, and what did you think of mine and Gordon's responses when you actually got to hear it back?
Oh, it was hilarious. The fact that when I mounted him and Gordon was just like, oh, he's awake now, it had me rolling. It was hilarious.
Because, okay, so the thing I think that people should know is Gordon was the first to call out it being an immediate DQ. So
yeah.
Gordon was right on that. My thing was, as a broadcaster, I want to make sure that you're telling the story that you see, not the story that's in your head. So to us, it was trying to map out, well, what is happening in front of us? You know, we're up on a Muppet balcony over to the side, right? Stage right. And I'm looking over and I'm seeing, you know, Zynga's there and Bernardo's there. And I immediately start thinking in my head, I go, there's no way they're going to DQ him because they're too nice. And it's like a weird exception. You know what I mean? Like, just based on how they both are, I didn't see them as saying, like, all right, we're done here. And on the same side, that's not for me to say as a broadcaster. So I was like, well, let's see what happens in front of us. Meanwhile, you've got people on the internet being like, DQ, DQ, DQ. And then I immediately remembered one thing, which was, I don't think, knowing you like I know you, you would want to win a match like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
And that to me was something that I said, okay, I think that's also got to weigh in on Zynga and Bernardo's mentality is, as well as that if they know you, they know that you're here to be a gamer and to win as you are supposed to win, by winning, you know, not by like, dude punched me and I advanced, what, you know, like nobody gets excited about that sort of a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the only time I'd really accept winning by DQ is if like I've put someone in submission and they intentionally ran out of bounds, because one, I was probably going to submit them, so it's still kind of a win for me.
That's fair.
But I don't like winning by DQs, you know, even if it's from a guy just shutting my game down and like running away. I don't like to win by penalties because that's stupid, because it's like, well, I wasn't able to engage either. You know, I was trying to, but I wasn't able to. So for me, I like to win a little bit more decisively than just, you know, getting punched and then the other guy getting
okay,
DQ'd.
so when that did happen, and there was something that I was saying, because I guess part of the reason why I asked you as well is, you know, people sent me clips, and I laughed a lot about it because I was like, well, it's just absurd, you know, like,
Yeah.
I had a lot of things that I could have predicted would have happened that night. That was low on my list. And
Oh, yeah, me too.
and I watched the clip because I had so many people when I was trying to be objective about calling it who were sending me the clips going like, no, he punched him. And I was like, I saw what I saw. I know what I saw.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to let it go. And it wasn't until maybe about 4 or 5 days later, I had just watched it without the sound. And it wasn't until then that I wondered, I was like, how did I sound when I was on there? I just kept looking at the video without the sound. I was like, what the fuck did I say? So then I played it finally, and I was, you know, narrating and doing play-by-play, and then all of a sudden I heard my voice go, whoa! And
So you're like, whoa.
yeah, because I was like, I wondered, I was like, what the hell did I do? And when I heard that, it was so far removed from the event that I go, well, what else would you have said in that moment? I think it shocked us all. So let's talk a little bit about that. You know, people did say you woke up. Was it a little bit more fulfilling to not only get mount, but then to take the back at that point?
For me, it was like, normally I gotta kind of figure a guy's game out, especially if he's like a leg locker, you know, or someone that's really strong. I gotta kind of find whether or not their game's not as strong, you know. So I wasn't able to kind of figure that out towards the beginning of the match. I was able to just kind of defend and see where he was attacking, and once I realized that where he was attacking, I was able to kind of go where he was not attacking, you know, where I figured he would be weaker. And it opened up the mount. It opened up, I think, 2 more guard passes. But I do kick myself in the butt though for letting the back kind of go. Like he escaped, right? But I didn't hold as long as I could have, you know. I felt like my arms were kind of gassing a little bit, and I wanted to save him for OT. So I felt like I should have just tried to submit him, you know, instead of letting it go to OT, because, you know, he's a strong guy and he ripped my arm off. So
I guess the thing that entertains me is, you know, I went up to go see you at the end of the night, and I guess this brings us into where Tex falls back into my eyesight of the night. But I went up to go, you know, say hello to you, make sure you're fine, and I know you're a tough kid. I know you took it on the chin, like literally. So when I saw you, I was just like, are you okay? Like, are you good? And you're like, yeah. And your first words to me were, better luck next time, you know, kind of a thing. And I was like, what are you talking about? The internet's going to fall in love with you all night. Like, you're fine. Like, yeah, I get it. You want to win, and that's where we want you to be. But I don't think anybody's walking out getting talked about more than you, and more about how you handled the situation. And I think we found that to be true. Do you have a particular funny reaction from this that you remembered that you thought was one that stood out to you? Or Was there anything that like even made you kind of laugh about the absurdity of this situation? I guess I should ask.
Like from like my reaction, or like the crowd's reaction.
From
Or-
the crowd, from your friends, because obviously there's that delayed reaction of not knowing how the people who you know, who your friends watch, and then there are complete strangers who were making memes about you guys. I saw one of my friends, they promoted one of their gym's no-gi nights with a still shot of the punch, and I was like, that's one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Yeah,
But
that's funny.
what stood out to you? Because you went from being an athlete to being a quasi-memeable quantity for a minute.
Yeah, so like for me, probably the funniest like comment I read is actually on my post. It was Pierre from TriStar. He commented, and I had said like it was on my post. I was like, oh, it was fun to test myself against high level competition, and he commented and like he was like, correction, test my chin, and I just thought it was hilarious. It just made me like, oh, it's so funny. Like test my chin against high level competition. I laughed a lot about that one, but. All of them were really funny. You saw like the people that were like trying to defend me, the people that were saying, "Oh, he's fine," it happens, and then you had the people that were like, "Whoa, what just happened?" Like a mixture of crowds.
Well, I mean, obviously you can't speak on every one of those things because, I think you handled it well, and I think you pretty much there was nothing more you could say other than you want to show up to compete. The one thing I would say though is that we do need to make somewhat of an example of it. Otherwise, athletes are going to come around and start realizing they can kind of get away with shit and just punching the hell out of people. And I'm like, listen, once this was bad. The next time this happens and a guy does it and they're just like, oh, I can't get DQ'd because that other time we're all good with this now. So I think that's the one thing that we wanted to see. Talk to us a little bit about the very first moment the text comes up to you, because I know that you guys saw each other downstairs when they had a little bit of a food reception kind of a thing at the end of the night where all the athletes were, so there was no getting away from it. You guys would run into each other.
Yeah. So the first time I saw him right after the fight was actually right when I kind of went off the stage. We went out behind the little like fighters area, and then I walked into the crowd, and he was sitting in like the front row where there were some empty chairs. And as soon as he saw me, he like came up and like shook my hand and like kind of like bowed his head real low and was like, "Dude, I'm so sorry. I got like my emotions got a hold of me and stuff." So it was, to me, it felt like a heartfelt apology. I know that maybe his temper got a hold of him and something. That's not okay, but he apologized and stuff, so it's it's no big deal. And I wasn't hurt or anything. Like if I like broke my jaw or something, maybe I'd be pissed, but it was nothing major. So. But.
Did you ever think of being like, "Hey, Dick, you punched me in the face. The least you could have done is not break my arm. Would have been nice." Did that cross your mind? Because the other part is that. So this is the part I describe to people is, I went downstairs. I saw you first, and then I saw Tex, and then we're essentially all eating together, and I look at the two of you guys, and I had partially kicked myself for not getting a video of you guys, and then I immediately said, like, I don't know, that's my place. I'm not always host. It's not always my job. But I did think it was pretty impressive to people who didn't see it at home, who were probably just starting to get into a conversation about it, that you guys were already past it, and that you're eating with each other and talking about what you're doing the next couple weeks. And when I finally see Tex, I literally go, I have to give you shit.
Yeah.
Based on what I do, I'm going to have to make fun of you. But at the same point, the kid's fine with it. You're fine. We're done, But I just love the fact that I saw him and you guys were in good spirits after, and you were essentially eating there. The one thing that I did get a comment from somebody when I relayed the story was, Tex should have bought you the food. And I mentioned them. I was like, well, actually, the food was just kind of provided for us, and we were all just kind of scavenging around. It was great food, but so I think that the one thing the internet was saying is Tex owes you a dinner, and I feel like that's something we should facilitate.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fine with that. I love food, so that'd be a good, I guess. I don't know.
And I'm not sure if Tex knows how much you can put away. I know how much he can eat, but I think
I can eat a lot.
He could be quite surprised by that. Well, I'm glad that you got that opportunity. I don't say I have any ins on Zynga or any of those guys in particular, or knowing where they may be at any given time mentally, but I would be quite surprised if you do not get invited to the next version of it, just so that you get another shot at doing your thing.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything about it, but there's like a tournament coming up. I don't want to announce the weight or anything, but there's a tournament coming up that's similar to my weight category, so I'll be doing that one, they told me. So it should be kind of cool. Finding someone my own size, or several people my own size, having some good matches. So
credit to you, dude, for being a gamer and being willing to go up in any weight class, as one might say. But there was kind of a comic incongruity of when I was explaining to civilians, because when I got back to LA, I was talking with people who have nothing to do with jiu-jitsu. And they're like, what happened this weekend? I was like, oh, nothing too major. I just commentated an event where a kid got punched by an adult. And they're like, well, how old's the kid? I was like, he's not a kid, but like, he's a kid to me. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, watch this footage. And they looked at it and they're like, oh shit. And I was like, everybody's fine. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem was most people didn't realize that we had kind of moved past it, and everyone was really trying to like stir it up and, thought that we were mad or something. But, really text and I had kind of settled it and stuff.
Here's an interesting thing about the internet is that when I say it belongs to them, you don't really get it back. The internet decides when it's done with it. So part of the unfortunateness of that is people are going to attach their own agendas to it in whatever action it is. So at a certain point, it has less to do with you and more as a jumping off point as a conversation. And I don't know that that's always fair to the individuals, but, I was just glad that everybody had moved well to it. So then, after this weekend, you also did did you guys do a BJJ Fanatics video with the crew over there, or did you do anything else or film it with them? Yeah,
so Cody and I actually stuck around for the next day, and we got our flights changed, and I ended up filming a guard passing instructional for on Sunday. So that will be coming out soon. I don't know exactly what it's titled, but keep a lookout for it on my Instagram or something.
Would you like to have our audience try and give you names for it? Are you soliciting names for it? Because
go ahead. Yeah, I mean anything that's gonna sell more of the DVD. So I mean.
I don't know that "Please buy this DVD" is going to be the best instructional name, but we can finesse it. I think we can get some of our creative friends to come up with some ideas. So you film some techniques, you and Cody stick around. Do you do anything else before you get on out of Massachusetts, or do you head straight back home after that?
We literally went straight from the studio where we filmed straight to the airport. So we had a pretty tight trip, but it worked out great. Like we everything kind of planned out perfectly, so it was good. But DJ Fanatics are great. Like they're really like hospitable and everything, so they're awesome. Definitely check out their videos.
I always tell people, I'm like, it's one thing how I observe how they treat the athletes, but as a broadcaster there, they took very nice care of me, and we're usually way far off in the peripheral. Like, they don't give a shit about usually us as broadcasters, but they made us very much part of his show, and it was fun doing it with Gordon, and I enjoyed doing it. Hopefully I get to do it again. Here's what I'm going to ask you, though. Here's what I'm going to ask. So the next week, you're going to be competing at that point for Grappling Idiots, or 2 weeks away, somewhere in that facility. How did you get involved in that one?
So Matt Kaplan actually messaged me. Oh, no, I think it was. I think it was Matt Kaplan. He messaged me directly. I think he messaged me directly and asked me a few months ago if I wanted to compete in a 170-pound 8-man bracket for some cash. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I got put in there. And originally, I think there was supposed to be Jason Rao and a few, I think Munch was in there. There was some pretty stiff competition. So I was like really psyched and stuff. But a few of the guys dropped out. There ended up still being some pretty stiff competition. Like I fought Felipe Cesar Silva and Athos Moreno or something like that. So some pretty tough competition still. So it was really cool. It's a good tournament. Matt was really professional. He's got a really good rule set for the athletes and the spectators. So
So talk to me a little bit about that rule set. What makes it interesting and what makes it different?
So it's basically just like ADCC rules, the same point scoring system and everything. The only thing difference is there's points from the start, and you get 1 point for a submission attempt. So if you get like a strong submission, you get 1 point, kind of like fight to win. But it still keeps track of like guard passes, takedowns, and things like that. So if you take someone down to side control, you get 5 instead of 2. So it really encourages action, and he calls stalling like right away. And if you go out of bounds, you guys keep fighting. Like he's not going to stop it and reset you standing. So it really encourages like the athletes to, put on a good show.
Let's ask about that. Did that happen much? I haven't seen the event yet. I've seen clips, but if we're talking about going out, I saw the make of it. Were you going into the audience at that point when that was happening?
Yeah, pretty much. For me, actually it happened several times, but the biggest time was between me and Felipe Silva when we fought. He went for a toe hold from my guard, and I came up on his back. He tried to dive out of bounds, and I just followed him and got on his back. And he was trying to get the ref to stop the match, but we just kept going. So we kind of running into the crowd, and I locked a body triangle. And then he was like, "What?" And I guess he just didn't understand that you guys keep fighting if you're off the mat. But yeah, that happened a few times. Pretty cool though, because I hate whenever I get a good position and someone goes out of bounds just to avoid the position. It's not a legit escape. If you're in let's say you're in a cage, you can't go out of bounds, right? If you're in a real life scenario, you can't go out of bounds. So I don't know. I think it's more realistic for the athletes.
Well, even in IBJJF's version of you'll just take 2 points. Sometimes I look at people and I go, they're willing to concede those 2 points because they'll still be ahead. So they don't give a shit,
Well, because we were super even. So, I mean, if he would have went out of bounds, I would have been up 2 or up 4 points, But the fact that I was able to stay on the back and then I actually got the finish, changed the entire match. And there was only a minute and a half or 2 left. So,
well, let's talk about that because I think there is, one thing that I saw of this that was very interesting, and I want people to be talking about this for this reason. So, if you look at this article over here, it's very interesting. It says, and this is from Jiu-Jitsu Times, it says, Grappling Idiots puts on first event and offers cut of pay-per-view to competitors. So how does that work, and what exactly are you getting from this then?
So I believe the pay-per-view is $5. It's actually really cheap, and it's a good show. There's always tons of good matches. So I encourage whoever's watching to buy the event, but use my name Tackett as the promo code because I get $1 per view. So it works out pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
were you surprised by that?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty neat because Flow Grappling doesn't do that, and nothing against Flow Grappling or anything, but the athletes are what put on the show. So some athletes get way more views than other athletes, but no one gets paid. So guys like Gordon or guys that draw a lot of eyes, I feel should get paid because they're exciting. So it's kind of cool the way that he's doing that. Maybe he's starting up a new trend. Hopefully it kind of continues and grows.
Well, I know Matt is up for giving people that opportunity, and that was one of the things he was telling us when he came on our show. I believe he and I will probably do an end cap review about it once I end up getting the opportunity to see it in full. But one of the things I did hear about it as I was looking down was, you finished all your opponents. How did you do that, and what was the day like? You had 3 matches to win, correct?
Yeah, 3 matches. So it was 8-man. I had the quarter, semis, and then finals. I actually took the back in all my fights and got the rear naked choke. So my favorite way to finish, and I got it 3 times, so it was pretty satisfying.
And I'm sure, obviously, I mean, especially after you have somebody like Tex and you have their back, and you have that opportunity that you felt kind of slip through, as you were mentioning earlier, and you're like, man, I really would have wished to finish him and not worried so much about it and just said it to hell with overtime. But in this opportunity, you were able to put away all 3 of those people with the back attack. I have to credit you because when I did see you at BJJ Fanatics, I thought it was interesting that you got mount, but most people don't do mount where it's debilitating. Especially in Nogi, it's sometimes hard to maintain that mount and and really use it. But I saw you transitioning to the back with it really, really well. Like the system that you were using to make that happen was really dope.
Yeah, I like to use mount to either expose the back, expose. I have a few submissions I use for mount. Normally, I just use it as like a position for transition. Sometimes I will change to side control, but them on their side so I can get in the back. But most of the time, it's just to get on their back. Yeah, the mount I feel like is a little underutilized. I used to be on Hibero Jiu-Jitsu, and I do compete in the gi as much as I do more no-gi. I do compete in the gi here and there. So the mount is a really strong position in the gi, and especially in Hibero Jiu-Jitsu. You know, we use a lot of cross-collar chokes and stuff. And Lovato was always like a big inspiration of mine when I was a kid. So, you know, American, you know, super accomplished and submitting a lot of guys. So I like to use the mount. Mount's a big part of his game. So I used a lot of the mount when I was in the gi. It's harder for me to use a no-gi. I'm trying to become better at it, but it's a good way to expose the back. You know, triangles, arm triangles, things like that.
Well, you know, yesterday during Polaris, one of the things that was interesting to see is Tommy Langaker was attacking using the back. And when all of us are so used to seeing no-gi, the one thing I do love about when you get the back in gi is your ability to mess with the collar and fucks with that. So for me, I was like, oh, right, we can do that. Because we see so many no-gi opportunities where it's just like you totally forget that in main competition. Like you see it at your gym, but like if you do it to like your blue belt, you always be like, nah, whatever. They're not techs. It's not the same guy, you know? It's a different beast. But then you get to see high-level competitors using it as a neutralizing force at the upper tier levels, and you go, that's pretty dope. So talk to me about this. What was the event like? Because when I saw the clips of it and I've seen it, you know, and the guys talking about it and the photos that I've seen of it, you know, what did you enjoy about the vibe, or what did you enjoy about the experience? Because you seem to be pretty favorable about it.
At the BJJ Fanatics or the Grappling Hour?
Grappling Idiots.
Grappling Idiots. It was good. It was in kind of a weird facility, but, you know, it was their first event, so it's kind of to be expected. The thing that I liked about it was that it was kind of a smaller crowd. It felt more like a kumite rather than like a big broadcasted tournament. And I like the fact that there was like no favoritism at all. You know, if you compete in a BJJF tournament, you're going to have favoritism towards, you know, maybe the Brazilians, or maybe to like if the guy's on GF team and you're fighting for someone from GF team, or, you know, someone's from Alliance and the refs from Alliance. There was none of that because Matt Kaplan had none of his competitors in the tournament, or maybe he had one, but he didn't ref that match. So it was very, there was no bias, nothing like that. So I liked that fact of it. And it was just it was neat because it was just a small little event, a bunch of decent guys in there. Like JT Torres was there watching. Matos Denines was coaching, you know, against me in the finals. So there was like some talent there, but it was just in a small room, so it felt really like, I don't know, special.
I mean, that always, it's hard to explain why sometimes an intimate vibe can be just as dope as like the giant spectacle. So it is nice to oscillate between those two. And I didn't know that your first round was against Selimore.
Yes.
I've rolled with that guy. He's good, man. He's a solid guy, really, so that was pretty dope.
Super nice too. Very respectful.
Oh yeah.
Guy. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's one of the good ones. He and I have. I mean, I didn't put him away with a back choke like that. I'll tell you that much. But he and I, I respect what he does, and he's good people. So of course that's good. And can I ask though, because I know you're somebody who not just watches your matches but studies it all, if you had to say like why people should order it, like is there a certain match that you think, in addition to any of the ones that you had, because obviously they're guaranteed finishes when you watch your matches, but was there a match or two that caught your attention that took place on this card as well?
Man, Keith Corian's match was really, really good. He showed some really good guard passing. He used to like the body lock and knee slice. And he fought a tough opponent. I forget his opponent's name, but I think
was it Mike Wacker?
Yeah, Mike Wacker, that's what it was. So he's tough. You know, he's a black belt, local black belt there. He has an academy. You know, I think it's Aaron Harris's instructor. So, you know, he's a really good competitor. And the fact that Keith was really able to go out there and shut him down, and I won't spoil it for you guys, but he got the finish. So it was a really good match, and yeah, it was good. I mean, there's tons of really good fights on there. Andrew, my brother, he had a really tough fight too. He I forget his opponent's name, but another really good local guy. And yeah, Andrew was able to get the finish as well. So there was a lot of finishes on the cards. They were really back and forth action. Andrew got put in a leg lock for a little bit. He put the guy in a leg lock, he passed, and then he ended up getting some more submissions going. So it was a really entertaining card. There's a lot of good fights.
Yeah, it was interesting. I also got the opportunity to meet your brother very briefly at BJJ Fanatics. And it was interesting to see the guys pulling the strings on the competition side between you and Cody, because at first I was looking at him and I was like, hey kid, I've heard, rumors about you being hyper competitive and kind of being the guy who makes these guys do dumb things. And your brother was like, yeah, who's saying that? Who's there? And I'm like, you're already responding like a kid that I know 100% is responsible.
Yeah.
Like, you've already failed the test, kid. And I couldn't help but be like, I was laughing so hard just at like the brilliant contrast that he provides between you and him. Like, obviously there's a shared love of jiu-jitsu and competition, but just seeing the very different approaches between you and your brother, and I was like, all right, I see how they're related. I see how they're related. I see how they're different.
Yeah, he's pretty crazy. He's a cool kid. We get along really well, and we travel a lot together. He's really entertaining. So.
Well, I heard back when I think Kaplan was putting this together, that he had found ways to integrate both of you guys on the card, and I was very happy about that. So I know that you guys always travel in tandems. If it's not just you and Cody, it's you, him, and Cody, or some version of that happens. That I just think like, you always want your crew to get as much shine time as possible, and not every promoter is going to get you guys all on a card.
Mm-hmm. And I feel also it's like the thing with the Danaher's Death Squad. They are kind of known for the Danaher's Death Squad before they were known for Danaher in general. It was kind of like they were known as a group rather than actual individuals. So it's kind of cool that we can kind of be on the same cards together, so that our gym can kind of be known for a group rather than like a single individual.
Absolutely.
Because everyone knows that Gordon trains there, but it wasn't always like that. It was like Eddie Cummings, Gary Tonin, John Calistine, Gordon Ryan, all these guys, Jason Rao, and that's what kind of built it up. And then like the stars kind of split ways and they started becoming more famous, So it's kind of cool that we're able to kind of rise together,
Well, it's also kind of wacky in the sense that I've kidded with the guys individually about this, but I'm like, how long do you have to stay on junior varsity before you make it to the varsity? Like, whenever I see some of these young killers that they have that are on the JV squad, I was like, aren't they varsity yet?
Yeah.
But that's for a discussion with me and Danaher at a different time. What did you win with Grappling Idiots? What was the prize?
So I'm not really allowed to say.
Oh.
Matt told me not to tell anyone, so I'm not really allowed to say. It just was a good chunk, so let's say that.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, then, congratulations to you on your prize and for the good chunk of whatever it is you won. The good news is if you have somebody who's, and I want to make sure that people understand, if you're saying a $1 out of $5 goes back to you guys, that's not dissimilar from the UFC's reported 20% that they pay out to fighters for that giant organization. So they recently did a study that said in a court case that 20% of the overall revenue of the UFC is what goes to the fighters. And I still don't know. I mean, aside from Spider, which I still haven't figured out heads or tails of how they're doing their thing, I don't know too many places that can be comparable on that kind of payout ratio. So that is pretty notable, especially for their first time, to make sure the athletes are a prime version of it.
That's what I'm saying, especially for the first show, and I'm sure it's only going to get better, as all shows do with time, So it being their first show and them already having great fights, a lot of finishes, good rule set, not a whole lot of controversy, and paying the athletes, and pay-per-view, it's going to be good. Hopefully.
Let's chat about this. News broke yesterday, and this is, honestly, I didn't know this was news that was going to be breaking. I just wanted to interview you for your win on Grappling Idiots. And I said, all right, I'll interview the kid. I want to catch up with you. And I also kind of want to put this text conversation to rest. But then, and mind you, Tex wanted to come on my show yesterday when I was doing a live watch on Polaris. So I think he knows he's getting asked the exact same questions, just on the opposite side. Because
sure.
it's, until I ask you guys these questions, nobody else is, so somebody should. But the thing is, you're going from that situation to the just announced Wagner Rocha. I guess my first question to you is, do you feel that you might get punched again accidentally from Wagner? Because Wagner is also he's pretty there. He's pretty intense himself.
I might get Spartan kicked, but I don't know about punched.
I don't think so. I think, okay, and I'll be real with this. I feel like you and Keith are in a race to see who can be the nicer jiu-jitsu competitor. And I feel like every once in a while, like, one of you gets ahead, and, like, even right now, you're like, oh, man, I'd watch Keith's match. And I'm sure Keith would be like, man, William's so good. I really like him. He's great. Like, you guys are just neck and neck. And honestly, at BJJ Fanatics, I thought you versus him could have been the match that we have seen. Or I had a couple matches I was like, oh, let's see that. But instead, they said, okay, if Keith doesn't get past this giant, we're going to give him another smaller guy. And we're just going to make it so that they're... And I was like, why don't they just have them tag team it? And then they can fight each other for whoever goes on first.
Yeah, exactly. That'd been hilarious.
But then I saw you went from, okay, well, that's a situation. Then you won. Okay, Wagner. How did that match come together?
So, it was in the making for a while. So I was really happy that it was able to come through. After I won the first Jits King back in July, Pat messaged me and was like, hey, man, we want to have you back. I think they were planning for December the first time, but it's now in January. So January 24th, and he messaged me and he was like, hey, man, we want to get you on the main event, possibly against a good grappler. Do you have any ideas? And I was out there for the last Jits King, and Wagner fought Celsinho, and he won, and he put on the mic and he's like, I never lost in Florida. And I thought that he had just never lost in his hometown, but he had actually never lost in Florida, I guess, on the big stage. So I remembered that whenever he asked, like, who do you want to fight? And I was like, oh, dang, I want to try to set like a record or something. So I was like, I want to fight Wagner, because if I can beat Wagner, then that's like, I would be the first person to beat in Florida. So that would be like a really cool win for me. And plus, I just love Wagner's style. I've been watching him for a long time. He's extremely aggressive. He's always trying to submit. He's actually really humble in person. I met him at the Jits King when I fought Enrico, because he coached Enrico. And, super nice guy. We talked before and after the fight. And, I just kind of would love to fight him, He was ranked number 1 in the 77 kilos for a long time. He took second at ADCC. You don't get much better than him. So it's a good person for me to challenge myself against. So.
Okay. And I mean, obviously I liked the match when I heard it was announced. I was surprised that I would get the opportunity to talk with you about it, because I didn't know it was in the works for that long. When I saw it, I said, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. He's got an aggressive style that he loves to say that he's the best at combat jiu-jitsu from. You've already proven you've been in combat jiu-jitsu once. So, now you're at a point where I'm like, I guess it kind of makes sense. I mean, for a split second. And, of course, I know you were also helping Cody train to get ready for that as well.
I was like the dummy for Cody's training, and then I was unexpectedly the dummy for Texas training.
What a great life you're living here, kid. And you know what the best part is? I still love the fact that Cody was like, when he made sure to talk about you guys training about it, he's like, no, we're going. There are some slaps that are getting thrown, and I'm like, the kind of friendship slaps.
Pretty hard. Yeah, we were going pretty hard. Like, I would be like, Cody would be exhausted because we put him in the middle, and we would literally take like 4 fresh guys and just.
No, you're good.
We would circle in on it with fresh guys, and they'd be the slaps, and I would get him like three guys deep, so he's exhausted. I have him in mount just like slapping him, and after he was like, "Guys, that sucked. Let's not do that again." So then we started, just rounds with rest in between. So, and then he was able to slap me up. So,
I mean, it's a fair exchange. But so when is this match with Wagner taking place, man?
January 24th in Miami, Florida. He'll be on Flow Grappling and on the Jits King. It's the main event, so super excited.
Is this your first main event like this?
To this degree, yes. I think I've been a main event maybe on. Actually, I can't recall. Maybe when I was younger on like a kids tournament or something. But I think this is definitely like the biggest spot I've been on a card.
I mean, it's a huge opportunity, and I think there has to be something that you're feeling right now, which is, Wagner. He's down for fighting a lot of people, but I know he doesn't like to waste his time. Mm-hmm. So he wants to select his opponents that are going to give good matches. Then meanwhile, while we were on commentary, Gordon was literally talking about your movement in a way that I was like, are you going to make out with the kid now? Like, what's happening here? Like, he kept being like, oh, his movement's so good. Like, look at his movement. His movement. I was like, bro, I'm gonna cut you off in a minute here. But you're getting all of these nice recognitions from people who are established in the sport, who see your potential. What does that feel like? And I mean, you have to be picking up on it because they're talking to you, they're telling that to you, they're tagging you in it. What does that feel like, especially so early in a career for your jiu-jitsu era?
Mm-hmm. It feels great. Like, I've been really kind of dreaming of it for a long time, getting matches with big guys and building like a fan base. So for me, still young, being able to do that, it's just really, really rewarding. Like, for a long time, I've always wanted to, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I want to, go to Brazil, train, become a black belt world champion. And, my vision has changed a little bit, I see what's better for me right now, but it's still kind of the same. I'm still starting to get the recognition and starting to see myself kind of start to impact others as well. So it's really cool that I can see that I'm influenced. I could be influencing to people's lives or even inspiring to them as well. So it's really rewarding. I'm really blessed.
Well, let's now ask about this, because you talk about these opportunities that come up that are kind of international in base. You were telling me off air, and I don't know a ton about this, but I want to know more about it, which is you're about to go to the Ukraine. Why?
So it's for the TMS official club tournament, I believe is what it's called. It's a quintet, 5-on-5, on 5-on-5. So there's like 4 teams. And Cody and I will be going out to the Ukraine tomorrow. And we'll be fighting for Team USA, along with a few other checkback guys for the cash prize. So there's a cash prize out there. They're paying for us to go out there. It's going to be a pretty cool opportunity. I've never been to the Ukraine before, and it's be really neat. And I've never done a quintet either, so I'm really excited to test myself out there. Hopefully I can get in like first round and see how many fights I can go deep. It'd be pretty cool if I could pull a Lachlan, but I don't know.
This is truly the mark of a young man talking, because the rest of us are taking the Sakuraba version of it, which is like, let me get in there when I need to get in there. How about you guys go run up the score if you can, and if it comes down to me, then we're gonna get there, kind of a thing. Because I'll tell you this much, man, the quintet style is, I think, one of my favorite styles. Like, even watching yesterday or 2 days ago on Fight Pass, I didn't know all the individuals on that card. And a lot of Asian talent that I was like, oh, I recognize this guy or this guy, and I don't know who this guy or this guy is. And yet the format is still so compelling that I was like, I don't know who these people are, but I found myself being like, oh, that's dope. Oh, shit, I want this guy to win. Oh, I want this guy to win. Oh, shit, that guy put down 2 people. That's dope. So it's a definitely very, very compelling version of that. And that is dope. And I think it's something that you could very well thrive at.
Well, thank you.
Who are do you know, can you speak about who the other 3 teams are? Because obviously you said there's one that's a checkmat team. Who are the other ones, if you're able to speak on that?
I'm actually not sure. I'm able to speak on it, I just don't have the information. I think
That's
we're
fair.
fighting against like a Russian team and then Israel and then maybe a Japanese team. I'm not sure. Uh, I just know that we're fighting 3 other teams, and
Okay.
we got a few checkmate guys on our team. So
Okay, so you got a real Mighty Ducks 2 situation here coming up right now where you guys are facing everybody internationally.
yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's kind of like the Olympics in a way because it's like country versus country, but yeah, I'm really excited to see how it goes out. I think the quintet's probably for me the most entertaining rule set. Like when Gordon was on the one where he like fought Craig Jones and he was on the Team Alpha Male. That was just so
Yes.
interesting for me. Even though it was kind of frustrating that he kept getting reset standing when he would be in a dominant position, it kept the fight going, which made it really interesting. And he had to like really push for the submission because he was running out of time. So I think it's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
I
At
was
least
I
for
was there. I
yeah.
was there covering that one live, and it was fun, man. Like I don't know, man. I saw the very first quintets and the first opportunity I saw them come out west to us. So I was like, I gotta be there. I gotta report on that one just because I love the format and I've seen more people get into it and start to kind of emulate it and do it themselves. And I'm all for it, dude, because I feel like everybody always talks about hating being the coach that can't do anything. And then immediately you go, well, now you can.
Yeah,
Now, if your boy loses, you come in and try and rescue them. So I'm
exactly.
stoked about it. Is that going to air somewhere? Are we going to be able to see it? And if so, how?
Um, I'm sorry, I don't really have much info for it. I'll
Oh,
actually, if you
Jesus
guys,
Christ.
so if you follow me on Instagram at Tackett_Jiu-Jitsu, I'll post some updates there. So, but right now I don't have much info on it. I've just been so busy with the BJJ Fanatics 2 weeks ago, last week the Grappling Idiots, and then now this one. So I've just been so busy. Sorry, guys.
I'm going to say this is the worst sneak in plug I've ever seen from a guest that's like, oh, I don't have any information. But if you guys want to just, I guess, follow me on my Instagram, I could give you that information later,
Yeah,
but you got to follow
yeah,
me.
but
So, how long are you going to be out in the Ukraine for? Are you there for a bit? Does that now take you out? Do you stay out that way? Because when you were traveling recently, you guys were out for a bit out that way,
yeah.
correct?
So when we were in London, we were out for like almost a month. So this time we'll be a lot slower. I mean, not slower. We'll be about a lot quicker. We'll be back next Monday. So I leave tomorrow. We'll be back next Monday, just in time to kind of get all rested and prepared for Nogi Worlds the next week. So
Well, we also have a note here from one Jordan Hawley who says, William Tackett is my hero with a googly eyed heart.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
you
Jordan's
guys,
awesome. He's a funny guy.
you guys are
Jordan, you're my
awesome.
hero too. So
No, no, I'm cutting that off. No more on that.
yeah,
Um, well, if that is the case, then that means that you miss the third coast, which I know is going to be weird for you because you guys were prominently on that.
yeah.
But then you get back in time for the Christmas. What happens in the Tackett household for Christmas? Do you guys do any normal, not in jiu-jitsu things, or does it just become you guys have to grapple to get whoever's getting the gift cards for Christmas?
So it probably won't be too much of a surprise, but we typically just eat a lot of food on Christmas.
No, not at all. I wouldn't ever expect that from you guys. And how does your training go throughout Christmas? Because you guys really can't take too much time off.
Yeah, so honestly, it's more of a reset for me, like towards the end of the year, because I try not to accept fights too early on in the year. So, the Wagner fight will be towards the end of January. So, I'll still have some weeks to prepare right after Christmas, but we try to take like maybe a week or two off, especially since I've been competing so much, and just kind of focus on having some fun with family, eating some good food, relaxing and recovering. But we'll still train here and there. Like I might train, four times a week probably at some open mats, but I probably won't lift weights. I'll probably just rest.
That's good.
But
That's very nice to hear. So I'm glad. I mean, it seems like even from the last time we chatted with you, things continue to be building for you. And I have to apologize to you because I was on the air for the finishers the next night after BJJ Fanatics, and we were talking about people who have won at different tournaments or people who have competed against somebody. And at one point, I was like, who won one of those things? I was like, yeah, there's one of those finishers ones that I don't remember who. And I had someone in our audience live chat be like, "You mean Tackett?" And I was like, "Oh, right. Yeah, no, I was just talking about him. Yeah, that kid. Yeah, he won one of those. That's good." So, yeah, even without you being on a card, your presence was still felt on one of the things that I
Oh
was
wow.
commentating.
Well, that's really awesome to hear. Thank you guys.
And
Appreciate that.
I'm gonna throw Big J under the bus because he also didn't remember. So it wasn't just me; it was him too. Well, that's dope to hear, man. I'm glad that you're closing out your year with quite a statement. One of the things that we're gonna start transitioning toward is you've had quite an impressive year. I think you've really gotten a lot of people paying attention to you. What are the goals come 2020? Like, what do you see and envision happening within this next year? Because it already seems like you've made a pretty good 2019. Where would you like to see it continue in the next year?
So honestly, if I could have it my way, I would just try to have a lot of super fights next year. Compete less tournaments. Tournaments are good, and I like doing a few of them because, things like ADCC, even the Worlds, you have to fight several matches, so it's good to get that experience. But for me as an athlete, the thing that's most beneficial is fighting like super fights, things that have the most eyes on you. You versus one guy. Typically, it's a really good matchup, like me and Wagner, an exciting one someone wants to see. So hopefully, I can just get a lot of super fights, and I'm gonna try to put on as much weight as I can for the next ADCC because I'm gonna try to. We'll see. I'm gonna try to do 88 kilos because right now I'm sitting at about 79 kilos, and my body's like trying to jump up, but I've been cutting weight, so it's been hard for me to kind of keep it down. So I'm just gonna eat a lot of food, lift a lot of weights, hopefully compete in some super fights, and get ready for the trials. So I don't know if I'll compete too much. I might just do a few super fights and hopefully be really strong and prepared for the trials next November, and hopefully win the trials and see you guys at ADCC.
I'm going to ask a question here. I don't know that I can get an answer on this one or if it's invasive. Do I hear snoring of some sort or sleeping of some sort happening around you?
Yeah, sorry about that. Should I? It's actually Andrew. He's passed out. So.
Because the thing is, I hope that you understand that while I'm doing this interview and I'm listening to you, on occasion I hear the Darth Vader like... and I'm like, I'm trying to take you seriously and watch you and listen to you, but in my earpiece I'm 100% picking up breathing happening, and I'm like, okay, either Tackett killed a guy and is literally like letting of the rest and is gonna go bury the body after this interview, or he's got an animal, or it's his brother. It's probably his brother.
Yeah, it's definitely Andrew. So yeah, he's actually kind of sick right now. So he took some NyQuil, and he's just like passed out right now. I can go in the other room if it'd be better. You think?
I think we're heading down the downslope of it.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that I wasn't crazy. Even though the eyesight's not super great, I know I have strong hearing. So
No, he's even on his. He's snoring on his side right now. That's how passed out he is. So he's not even flat on his back. He's on his side and still snoring.
I think that's fine. I get it. It's just when you were selecting a place to do the interview, you could have gone anywhere. The first thought you had was, well, my brother's leaving here, so screw that. I'm going to do this interview anyway right here.
Actually, what happened is I was already started the interview, and I guess he had taken some NyQuil. So he came in here and just passed out while I was in the middle of the interview. So
is that what happened at the very beginning? I saw somebody kind of walking in. So in the time we've been talking, he went down.
Yeah.
So he was literally listening to you do part of the interview and was like, that's cool, I'm leaving.
Oh, literally, you can ask anyone that hangs out with us on like a regular basis. This past week, he slept like so much during the day. Any chance he can get, he's going to pass out. If we're on the car on the way to jiu-jitsu, he's going to pass out. If we're going from weights to the gym, he's going to pass out. If it's in between kids class and adult class, he's going to pass out. He just passes out any chance he can get. Anywhere, too. Like, he'll be in the back of my Mini Cooper, like the little cramped seats with another person, and still be passed out.
So I'm going to let you know I'm torn here because the human in me says don't, but the host in me says, but can we see him?
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
For sure. Anyway, I just gotta figure out how to flip this camera around. I don't know how to do this.
I mean,
wait.
you literally just turn the camera at him at this point.
I'll just do that. I don't know if you can see him.
Oh, God. This is so funny. Okay, I'm good. That's amazing.
He's just passed out right now. Anyway, I actually can go up a little bit closer because he's not going to wake up.
Nope. You don't need to do that. I don't need to. This is so mean. He's going to be so pissed at me, but more you,
no.
but then me again.
It's funny because we have this thing going where we literally just take videos or pictures of him sleeping all the time. Like when I was in New York, it was hilarious because I was at the hotel and I was like watching some TV because it was right before we were about to go to the Grappling Idiots, and he's asleep. And I'm like taking a video of him, and I sent it to someone. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, he's asleep again!" And the night before that, he was asleep on the train. And then we're on the way to Grappling Idiots in the Uber. It's like a 10-minute Uber or something like that, and he's passed out, like head back, mouth open, just full on snoring.
I mean, I'll let you know selfishly that the very sad part of this, as a statement on me, is the fact that I've had people fall asleep in one of my interviews that weren't even involved. So I don't know how that means I can retain people. But on the other side, I can't help but think of the absurdity of just someone falling asleep while an interview's happening. I can't believe I caught that. I seriously, I don't know if other people were listening and they were being polite and they didn't say anything, because we've had no comments about that in the chat. And we've had people come in and out of the interview. I see our numbers. I see people who are watching us live. So it's kind of random that would happen. We did get a note here.
I had my earphones in, so I didn't think that it was going to be too loud, like him snoring.
No, you can still hear it. It's faint. And the reason why I did want to bring it up is I think we're going to make more and more of these available on iTunes for podcasts, so people can listen to them. One of the hard things about making the show is that it's very hard to keep up, and I've gotten some help now from some folks who are going to help me break those apart so that you can hear them individually and whatnot. But if people were just listening to this in the audio version and they just heard and there was no real addressing of it, it's just going to sound really weird. And I want people to know it's not me. That like as you're listening, it's not like my active listening is going like, yeah, okay, cool. Like I'm fat, but I'm not that fat.
We should have addressed it earlier on in the video, to be honest.
Honestly, so the thing is like, we've had normal exchanges throughout. That was the first time I was like, plug your shit, kid. And then you're saying your stuff. And then all of a sudden toward the end, I go, no, I'm really hearing it. I'm pretty sure that's there.
It's hilarious because now I'm thinking about it. And every time I hear him go, I like almost burst out laughing.
Nicole Ederman asks, who snores louder, Andrew or the pups?
It's a pretty stiff competition, but I think Andrew takes it.
we
got two big boxers.
It's very sweet. Yeah,
they both snore as well.
My little French bulldog was starting to get angry right now. She literally came over to me. I look at her and I'm like, I'm not done yet. I'll be done in a minute. And she just like pouted her way back to the couch. And I want to be like, what Lucy doesn't know is that she's the loudest snorer in the family. So take that, puppy. So my dog is pretty bad.
It's between my dad and Andrew, between the loudest snorer in the family.
Well, that's very good to know. I'm glad Mr. Tackett is going to appreciate getting brought on like that at the very end. Well, here's the thing, kid. I'm so glad we were able to bring you on, not just to talk about Grappling Idiots, which, by the way, if you guys are going to watch that and you're going to download it, put this man's name in the promo code area so that way he gets some of that money back. I think that's a really great thing for people. Mm-hmm. It's not just because you're doing great things international or even that you were getting a match with Wagner. I just really, as someone who had some insight as to what was going on and was on the microphone as it happened with Tex, I was like, I think it's kind of good to hear people talk and actually have you talk about it, because I know you put up a status update that just said like, hey, we talked about it, we're cool. But I also thought like at a certain point, you have such a great and rising career that I think that's just like a weird thing that happened as part of VSN happens.
And I can't really be anything else but grateful for it, kind of, because it was a lot of publicity, whether it's good or bad. Show business is show business, and like a lot of people saw it, and a lot of people commented, and I got a lot of followers from it, and gained a lot of new fans. So really can't be anything else but thankful for it. I didn't get injured or anything, so it was just a punch, nothing major.
That's amazing, dude. And like I said, I just knew that having gotten that insight and being around you guys, I was kind of like, oh, I kind of know something that people don't. And I didn't know how much of that, as a host, I always think, like, how much do you share about other people's moments? Like, especially when you're privy to things that people can't see. And it's like, no, this happens in private. People don't need to know that. That was one that we came back on the show. I talked about it, and I mentioned it a couple times to people who had some opinions. Who, to say the least, were just kind of like, I want to say a few things about this. So, you almost were the first recipient of a new segment that we're called Put Some Respect on That Name. But you had already done it for yourself. You'd already done something super nice. So I'm sure at some point we'll put you on that segment. But I want you to know, kid, very proud of your year. You've done amazing things, and I look forward to seeing more continued things in your career because, it was funny. Somebody had to remind me. They're like, Will's a purple belt, right? And I was like, no. And they're like, no, he's a purple belt. I was like, no, I'm a purple belt. But we don't exist in the same league of things. Like, you can't ask me to do half the things the kid does. No. So it's to your credit that you have a lot of people talking about you, my friend.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I always tell people I'm a purple belt in the gi. So, I feel like no gi doesn't really have any ranks. Like some people do ranks in no gi, but I feel like I'm a purple belt in the gi. I still lose in the gi, and I still learn a lot in the gi. But gi, just a little bit more experienced in.
I think we could also promote you to purple belt in combat jiu-jitsu too. So now that we're getting all those things, we're there. Well, I want to make sure we're respectful of your time. Thank you so much for coming on the show this week. It's always good catching up with you, and I'm sure we're going to see you in early in the new year. I'm very much looking forward to you in Wagner. I think that's going to be a hot fire match, dude.
I really appreciate it. I'm really excited about it. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Not a problem, dude. All right, kids, here's the thing. We're going to sign off now. If you're not following us, don't be dumb. Follow us at Grappling Hour on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. Yeah, I'm on Twitch too, bitch. Follow me everywhere, because the whole thing is you get to see great interviews like this, and plus we've got more coming up this week. I believe on Tuesday I'm talking with Ryan McGuire from Third Coast Grappling. We're going to ask him what the hell is responsible for the whole Gordon situation, and what we can expect to see this weekend from the burgeoning Texas promotion. But of course, you only get to see that interview if you're subscribing and you're making sure you're keeping up with us on the show. So make sure to follow us at Grappling Hour, all major platforms. Until then, it has been a great day for grappling. It is your friendly BJJ host, Raph Esparza, saying we'll see you on the mats.